across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. Whoa, my hair tonight. I think I look like Elvis. What am I doing?
It is uncanny.
What am I doing? What am I doing? Unbelievable. OK, when that camera comes on, I know you think to yourself, what the hell's the hair going to look like tonight? So do I, because I don't know either. Anyway, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. You can get in touch, 0344 499 1000. Calls just charged at your normal rate. I want to start straight off. We've got a guest in called Charles Amos. He's a political commentator. Do you know something? He's one of these libertarians who I think is going to make a series of really interesting, worthwhile points, which you may disagree on practicality, but are worth listening to.
When you hear his argument, he actually speaks a lot of sense. It just seems irrational at first, but soon you'll come to see his way.
I'm not sure you'll necessarily agree with everything he said. Why don't we just remind ourselves about what happened last time he was on?
Run VT.
Anytime you like.
Press play on the Betamax.
Anytime you like.
Sanyo.
No. All right. Let's not bother watching what happened.
Try the VHS. Here, press play now.
Would you take the bus passes off people?
I would take the bus passes off people. I can't stand seeing buses just full of pensioners all literally
They're
taking
keeping warm.
We're going to do it again on Laserdisc.
Bus passes off people.
I would take the bus passes off people. I can't stand seeing buses just full of pensioners all literally
They're
taking
keeping warm on it, if anything. They can keep warm on it. It gives them keeps them alive, company gets them out and about.
It does do that, I agree.
What the flipping heck's wrong with you that you don't like old people?
Miserable.
I don't dislike old people.
Obviously you do. How old are you? 30-something?
No, I'm 24.
You're 24.
I'm 24. Now, what I dislike, James...
You're 20-frigging-4.
What I dislike, James...
You are disgusting.
...is pensioners saying they are entitled to benefits on the basis they've paid in all of their lives when they've not paid in on a net analysis.
And you're quite straight-faced.
The average pensioner has not paid into the welfare state on a net analysis.
Are you hoping to be a politician at some point in the future?
I did in the past, but not...
Our Whale clip's on at 11.
Yes, we always
for that.
We always this our memorial to James Whale. We always put a clip on at 11 o'clock. So Charles Amos, what's your central point is this, that we should not be supporting the elderly in the way we do because they haven't been paying in the way they believe they've paid in. Now, I made this point when Reem Ibrahim was on, I know she's a good friend of yours, that actually if you've paid in for your pension through national insurance, that money has stayed in the national insurance account for an average of 4 weeks. It wasn't invested in the way that people believe it was invested. There's not this enormous pot of money like perhaps in Singapore. So what is the argument against the state pension? Let's just start with that.
Absolutely. There are two arguments against the state pension. The first is sort of people have paid in all of their lives, so they should get the state pension out. But if you look at those individuals born between 1945 and 1966, you'll find they've taken £1.20 out of the welfare state for every £1 they've paid in. So if pensioners should just get out of the welfare state what they've paid in, they should actually see their pensions and their healthcare spending cut by 1/6.
And they walk around all righteous, don't they, like they paid in? They don't tell us that bit, do
Well,
they?
you don't need to tell me. And the second argument about the state pension is it's needed because these pensioners are very poor, or at least many of them are very poor, so they need the money and need, that's the basis on which to give them the money. But if you look at the bottom quintile of pensioners, you'll find they spend 17% of their income on leisure. So that includes restaurants, hotels, alcohol and cigarettes, and recreation and culture. So they clearly don't need the state pension to support themselves and their needs in particular.
Well, hang on.
Could cut back
a lot
the
have
state
got
pension,
properties that have multiplied in value as well.
Yeah, but hang on a second. 17% and 20% are very similar figures.
Yes.
Are you arguing that there should be a 20% cut in the state pension? Because that would make sense. If you were saying, I'm willing to keep these people alive and I want to make it, if you like, cost neutral, then actually that 20% reduction would be the way to go. It's not 20%, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think there's a very good case as a second best answer to have state pensions cut by 1/6, which I think is about 18% or something like that. That would ensure pensioners just get out of the welfare state what they paid in.
What is the
and also ensures that it's only covering their basic needs.
What is the world that you want to live in, right? What is your utopia? Simply because there's all sorts of things. There's things about cousin marriage. There's things about state pension cuts. There's things about not supporting assisted dying. If you woke up in the morning in the perfect Charles Amos world, what would be happening?
So I'm an anarcho-capitalist, and anarcho-capitalists believe that there should be no state whatsoever, and we believe there should be no state whatsoever because taxation is theft.
Okay.
Theft is taking an individual's property without their consent.
I agree, yeah.
Taxation takes an individual's property without their consent.
So it should be
Therefore,
left to
taxation is
charities,
theft.
shouldn't it, to look after? If the do-gooders who go on about it, they're the ones that should do it. The NGOs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you look at the 19th century, you'll find that poor people were looked after through the friendly societies.
Your local parish and people
absolutely.
like that. Yeah.
In 1911, when the National Insurance Act was introduced, you'll find that 9 million of the 12 million working men were already covered by friendly societies such as the Royal Society.
However, that means
Oddfellows.
3 million weren't.
3 million weren't.
And that's a big number.
Sure, but they would have been covered as the national wealth increased over the years.
I think there is.
I mean, it was 1911 that we're talking about.
I think
By
there
now,
is.
they would have definitely been covered.
I think there is a great tendency in this country to believe that if we didn't have the welfare state in the way we have it, if we didn't have the NHS in the way we have it, people would starve and die on the streets.
No, it would focus their minds. I mean, when my grandparents came after the Second World War, there was no benefits or anything. You literally had to get a job, or that was it, or get help from someone, and it actually created work because people had to work. This force, like Ebony yesterday, they can just sit eating burgers in bed. She wouldn't be doing that if she got nothing. She'd actually go out and use herself.
I agree with that.
Properly.
It is ridiculous that we now have 1 in 4 people of working age on unemployment, disability or incapacity benefits. That is inexcusable. Tens of billions of pounds, if not in excess of £100 billion, if I remember rightly, are going to these individuals who in the vast majority of cases simply refuse to work. I'm sure there are some legitimate cases where people really do need money.
They can't get enough because the other people are ripping off the system.
Absolutely. The vast majority of these people are simply taking the mickey out of the taxpayer.
But Charles, we've gone further than that, haven't we? Because I believe that Britain is in the midst of an experiment, which is this. If you take the weakest, the worst educated, the people with the lowest I suppose, ability, lowest access to finance, whatever it is, bring them to the United Kingdom from around the world. The most backward people in the world, the poorest people in the world, bring them to the United Kingdom, put them on state benefits and see if they will become successful. That is the experiment that we are embarking on in this country. And from what I can see, when 70% of Somalian men that come to Britain are unemployed and basically 100% of Somalian women that come to the UK are unemployed, what you're talking about, we're going the complete opposite way. We're saying that if we force people not to stand on their own 2 feet and we bring people who have no skills whatsoever to Britain, then we can see if we can make a success of that.
The unemployment among the immigrants that you mention, I suspect, is due to minimum wages and things like that. These individuals, I'm sure, are capable of standing on their own 2 feet. Certainly, if you look at the migrants that are in hotels, they're not allowed to stand on their own 2 feet because they're not legally allowed to work. I can't really say that much more because I didn't fully understand your point.
But basically, look, over half, I think it's 54% of the working population are net takers now. I mean, that's getting worse and worse because there's more things you can claim for.
Sorry, let me clarify what I meant. What I meant is that, and it was more a series of thoughts than anything else. My point is this. We are creating a country that is committed to putting people on benefits. If we cannot find enough people to put on benefits in Britain, then we will search the world to find people to put on benefits. And our experiment is simply this. Can we make a success of a country when everyone we bring to the country is on benefits? So we say to Somalia, send us your worst, send us your least educated, send us your least able, and put them on benefits in Britain and see what happens. That's the experiment in Britain now.
And I think the obvious answer to that is no. You can't make an economy work where a great number of people, including immigrants, are on benefits. If you look at the national debt in this country, it's £137 billion. That's in excess of 5% of GDP.
What's that, the interest payment? That's just the interest payment a year.
The interest
is
payment
110 billion.
Is the interest payment?
It's trillions our debt.
It's 2.7 trillion is the national debt. It's in excess of 100% of GDP. It's not sustainable to go on financing domestic people who will not work, and indeed these immigrants in hotels, which cost about 14 billion pounds every year.
What about our historic system? What about the historic system we had, which you may or may not like? So you have a guild of freemen that run a particular area. So what you say is, hey, if you want to trade in the market, you've got to be part of the guild that owns the market, right? And that's the way that Britain used to work. Now, obviously, there's different ways of doing that today. Similarly, in the old days, it would be people of the parish that were looked after. So there would be a legal requirement that the people in your parish were not allowed to starve. But how you delivered that was fundamentally...
Charles he's got an interesting... He wants to bring back the workhouse, and there's some good ideas you've got. Tell us about your workhouse ideas. It won't be like the old ones. It'll be more like a Premier Inn. Tell us, Charles.
I would abolish the welfare state if I were Prime Minister, but in the absence of doing that, and compared to the welfare state today, I would bring back the workhouse. If you look at the Poor Law Amendment Act of 1833 or 1834, it halved expenditure on welfare because people simply didn't want to go into these pretty terrible places where you had to do the crank and break up open. And if they were required to do that today, you'd find a number of people on benefits would fall through the floor. Would I want to bring back the guilds? No. I think the guilds were a very bad thing for this country. And when they were abolished in the 18th century, the economy expanded dramatically because you didn't have a set of self-interested engineers and people like that excluding people from the market to keep up their own wages.
Yeah, I suppose that's right. But what I want to do is people stand on their own 2 feet. So I'll tell you what, if we're going to talk about the workhouse, let's think about some advantages of it. First of all, you get a job. Right, so a modern workhouse, you would be required to do a job, so you would get benefits, but you would get a job, and your benefit would be that you get housing and you get food and clothing.
Absolutely.
And you get a job.
Or you'd make stuff like helmets for the army, like they do in America, cat's eyes for the road.
There's a lot of chain gangs in America, and they do stuff for the community.
They work well,
I mean, although in America they accuse the Louisiana State Penitentiary, the Angola Farm, of being a modern-day slave encampment, don't they? They say they're deliberately throwing people in prison.
I don't have an issue with criminals who have committed murder, rape and robbery being slaves.
We used to have a guy called Sheriff Arpaio.
Oh, you old softy!
He became a Judge Arpaio in Arizona, and he used to have this thing called Tent City. He'd make them all wear pink. They'd go in the desert and they'd break rocks. And it really did sort the crime out. They voted him in again and again. You know, you've got to give them the stick rather than this constant load of carrots.
Absolutely.
I mean, would you change the punishment? I mean, go back how would you punish people? Like, since we got rid of capital punishment at school assembly, behaviour's gone downhill. In the prison, we used to have the cat o' nine tails and all that, and it works. Why don't we bring that hanging back? Murder doubled when they got rid of hanging. It obviously worked. People who say, "Oh, it doesn't make a difference," are rubbish. So, what would you do? And also, what would you do with the previous regime with this experiment that was basically treasonous to the country?
Bringing back the death penalty is a good idea, and the central objection, which is but the innocent will be accidentally killed, is not decisive.
I've worked this out anyway, don't worry about it.
Innocent will also be killed if you allow murderers out into the streets. So when you subtract that effect, the fact that the death penalty will reduce down the number of innocent people killed from the slight increase by allowing the death penalty, I think you'll probably find that the number of innocent people overall
will go down. But anyway, because of technology, there would be a new threshold, not beyond reasonable doubt. For the death phase, you would have 100% proven. Like people that chopped the head off that soldier, we know he did it. Like Harold Shipman, they would get the death penalty. Lucy Letby would not get the death penalty. So you can basically now 100% prove a murder. Fred West, so it would have to be that threshold, and then no innocent people would ever be executed.
I think if you're in favour of the death penalty, you've got to accept that some innessent people will die. I think some innocent people will die. I don't want them to die, but some innocent people will probably die.
There's a wider problem with our society today, which is this, that we sort of worry about protecting the rights of some people at the expense of others. So let me give you an example of COVID. So we sit there and we go, oh, we're very worried about vulnerable people, and rightly so. We should be worried about vulnerable people. But what we did was we hammered to the floor the future and the opportunities and the education of young people. Similarly, we're saying we're very worried about migrants who are being tortured in their own country. But what we're doing is we're destroying the rights of the majority. You made an excellent point there when we talk about the death penalty. Hey, listen, more innocent people are dying now than they did when the death penalty existed, because when we talk about innocent people dying, we only think of the ones that are accidentally hung. We don't think about the people who machete attacked in the streets, because crime is completely out of control. Why do we live in a country where the rights of the bad people are the ones that we always remember, and we forget about the rights of everybody, the rights of people to go out of their house during COVID, the rights of children to go to school, the rights of people to have a home without migrant gangs moving in next door? Why do we forget all that? Why don't we care?
That's a very good question, and to be quite honest, I don't know the answer. I suspect you two, as radio hosts who talk with the public on a very regular basis, would probably know a lot better than I do.
I would have thought so.
I think when it comes to COVID, people were just very scared, and scared in large part due to the government's propaganda. I mean, the vast majority of people had no idea that the mortality rate on average was about 0.66%.
The average age of death was 86, which is above the actual normal. You're actually better off with COVID. You had a longer life. Anyway, on that bombshell, we'll take a little break and we'll be back with more controversial stuff. You're listening to Talk. It's Andre and Ash, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Now listen, I'm in a bit of trouble for being nice to Charles Amos, the political commentator. I think a lot of you are saying via text and via phone that his ideas are a little bit wacky. Hey, listen.
Can you disagree with anything he said?
I've publicly said on multiple occasions that I like the idea of the workhouse, and I'll tell you why. Because it forces ordinary local communities to look after their own poor. What they used to do, yeah, absolutely. You ended up falling on hard times in Portsmouth. They go, hey, no, you were born in Lancashire. You're getting back to the community you were born in. Can you imagine if all the welfare that you paid was actually taken away, and instead what you did was looking after the people who were poor in your community, your own people, rather than...
And there'd be that stigma, wouldn't you? You wouldn't want to be in it, because they'd all be pointing at you down the marketplace. Look, we're all paying for it. And they'd all know you, your family.
I made this point before today. If you looked after the poor in your own area, Charles, and it was your responsibility to do that, then what would happen is you go, oh, Charles has just left university, doesn't have a job yet. We will pay him, but he's got to teach in the local school, or, you know, he's got to paint my fence, or whatever it is. And I think if you had that where... you know, you would know whether people were deserving or undeserving. You'd know whether people were ill or not ill. I just think delivering welfare locally is such a better idea.
Absolutely, and I think the friendly societies that delivered welfare in the absence of people going into the workhouse are a very good example of that. You've got the Royal Society of Oddfellows and the Society of Oak.
They're a bit odd, that lot.
Well, absolutely, and these people supported, or these organisations rather, supported a great number of people through hard times, and they did it through insurance. And the workhouse also did that for people that couldn't afford for.
And
the
gruel
insurance
isn't that
payments.
bad, because we found out, Andre found out, it's basically Ovaltine and Horlicks gruel. So I don't know.
By the way, we keep getting into arguments with the gallery.
He doesn't like
because
us talking about Ovaltine.
We're obsessed with talking about gruel, and I'll tell you why we're obsessed with talking about gruel. Because gruel is a product that's so discredited by Charles Dickens that Ovaltine and Horlicks refuse to admit that they're a type of gruel.
The Ovaltine window's shifting. Lowry in Merseyside is having a break from painting matchstick men and dogs, and you're on with Charles. Lowry!
Turn off your TV or radio.
I think she's turned it off. Lowry? Lowry!
Right.
I'm here.
Right, Lowry, what do you want to say to Charles?
What does he do for a job?
Charles?
I'm a bookkeeper and credit controller for a haulage company, and in my spare time I write articles for an American billionaire and get paid to do that.
Lowry?
In other words, you do bugger all.
What do you mean? He just said he's working.
Hang on a second. He works in the accounts department of a haulage firm. What more do you expect than that?
You've never worked after 6 o'clock in the evening.
Ah, that's not true. I was there till 8 o'clock the other day sorting out the invoices and the proofs of deliveries. And I worked as a baggage handler in the past, and I woke up at 1 o'clock at night and then got off the clock at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I have worked some very unsociable hours, contrary to what you may think.
Next question.
Not that it's at all relevant, to be quite honest.
Well, it would be relevant because she thinks you're to the manor born and you're somebody who doesn't need a job and is just wandering around dispensing advice to others. We never said that, nor has that claim ever been made.
I'm not to the manor born.
With that moustache on your mouth, nobody'd employ you.
He's got a job.
I believe your caller, who I couldn't quite hear, said nobody would ever employ me. I mean, that's simply not the case. I've been employed by DHL, the haulage company that I'm a member of.
DHL noch.
Charles, I will say one thing, though. You do have an unusual style to you in terms of the clothing and whatever. Have you always dressed like that?
Like George Roper. Do you know George and Mildred? You won't remember them. You should have learnt it in history.
Since I was about 21, I've tended to wear tweed, yes, and tweed with a tie to it.
But you've got glasses that are from like the 60s.
My dad selected these, but I did say I like this kind of style.
Yeah, I mean, you look. I'm not being critical of you. You're well turned out, but it is a style more typically associated with the 1970s,
which is cool. You know, the 70s.
Fine, I don't mind.
It's quite cool.
We should
imitating the style of the 1970s. I think that might in part be because I buy most of my clothes from charity shops.
Oh, okay.
And of course, most of the people.
Oh, how wonderful!
What I don't buy.
I want to know. Did you go to private school?
I did go to private school. I'm very pleased I went to private school.
A posh one or just the middle of the road one?
A posh Victorian one.
Which one? What was it called?
Ardingly College, which was founded in 1857. Great school. I'd recommend if you can afford it.
How much is it a year, that?
It's in excess of 10,000 or 15,000.
That's not bad. Larry, would you send your kids there?
No.
Why not?
My daughter went to a state.
Joking.
She's now a dentist in Sheffield, doing very well.
Oh, that's good.
I'm pleased for your daughter.
Larry.
Yeah, it's just.
Sorry, go on.
And she looks a lot more normal
Well, what is normal, though?
Fine, I'm pleased she looks a lot more normal.
By the way, for those listening on the radio, just to explain, Charles Amos is wearing a tweed jacket, a jumper, a shirt and a tie.
It's not actually tweed.
You've got a moustache and you've got the big glasses. The sort of...
the moustache like the Des Lynam.
Des Lynam moustache and a side part. So it is more a 1970s type style.
Yes.
I like the 1970s. You would
It's
like
like that Mars programme from, with the coppers.
You would have looked great on Bullseye.
Larry, pensioners, what do we do with them? There's too many of them, we can't afford it. Would you cut the pension?
Well, I'm a pensioner.
Yeah, but do you deserve it? You haven't contributed. You've taken out more than you put in.
I've put in a hell of a lot.
But you've got a lot more out.
My ex-husband would work 40-odd hours plus a week as a GP.
Nevertheless.
And we've certainly...
Yeah, but hang on a second. If your husband worked in the public sector, then actually you've contributed nothing to the economy at all.
Good point, yeah.
Well, you haven't.
I think that's a bit disingenuous. Public sector workers still contribute to the economy, even if they're paid out of taxpayers' money, because they're still providing productive services.
No.
And I would add that if your husband was a GP, then given that they earn quite a lot, you probably have paid more into the system than you've taken out. But I suspect that your argument that pensioners should receive a generous state pension, it probably applies to people that are of an average means too. And those people have taken £1.20 out of the welfare state.
So Larry, just to be clear,
yeah, Andre,
you have paid. So you say you've paid in more, and Charles Amos thinks that's probably right. Then you've taken out. Should only people who've paid in more be allowed to take out?
You could be more stringent on how much pension people got. It could be more carefully.
Yeah, it's got too far.
Okay, Larry, thanks a lot. Let's just say this to you, Charles. My concern, I have to say, is worklessness and uncontrolled immigration. Why are we so worried about pensioners when there's those two issues? Or is there no hierarchy in your mind?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so why are we so worried about pensioners when there are so many people jobless and there are so many migrants coming into the country? Or do you see no hierarchy? Do you think we should be worried about all these issues?
Well, I think we should be worried about all of these issues, but I think pensioners on the whole should be higher up the hierarchy because there's just a far greater number of them. The expenditure on pensioners is in excess of £100 billion. On migrants, it's less than £15 billion. Sure, we should sort the migrants out. We should stop them from occupying hotels at the great cost of the taxpayer. But it's simply unsustainable to go on with this pension spending. If you look at the national debt, it's forecast to go up to 233% by 2066, in large part driven by old age expenditure. So that's the state pension and social care. That is not sustainable. I mean, the debt interest would reach 9% of GDP. 9%. One in every £10 would be spent on paying bondholders back in 2066.
So my understanding is that when the state pension came in, at age 65.
No, not age 65.
Okay.
It was originally introduced in 1908, I believe, by Lloyd George as Chancellor. And the original age was 70.
Okay.
And I think the life expectancy at the time
was 71 and a half.
Well, I think it was just below 70.
I was going to say, because the average, when it was first introduced, so I thought it was 65, doesn't matter that it's not, the average claimant claimed for 18 months. Nowadays, I mean, we had a guy who retired from the council I worked at. He retired
1909, you're wrong.
He retired age 55. And what's his life expectancy? 75. That's 20 years on 2/3 of his final salary. And his final salary was £130,000. So we have to pay £90,000 a year for 20 years. Unbelievable.
Life expectancy has not gone up in proportion to how it should have been. It should go up quite substantially in order to meet the same proportion of working age years to pension years that it was when it was originally introduced. I mean, the original state pension was introduced by the Liberals, but I think the sort of, maybe the modern one was introduced, you say 1999?
1909, yeah.
1909
when it was introduced. Yeah. But I mean, the other thing, women used to get it earlier. They should surely get it later in life because they live longer.
That's a reasonable point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and men, you know, they sort of work, you know, more physical jobs, don't they? In the
And
main,
women, on the whole, don't
Larry,
pay very much.
you shouldn't be getting your pension before men.
Ask Charles, does he have private health care?
I don't have private health care. I did when I was at an accountancy firm, but I don't anymore.
Are you offering?
Why were they paying for you at the accountancy company?
What are you driving at, Larry?
I think he is cheating the society and making up things that suit his particular lifestyle.
Well, I suppose if you
Larry,
only...
what have I made up? Larry, what have I made up? If you can correct me, I'll accept your case.
You're exaggerating how pensions are adjusted.
Well, I disagree. I'm only quoting the figures. Say when I say the bottom
He's an accountant,
quintile
isn't he? He knows what he's
of
talking
pensioners spend 17% of their income on leisure, so recreation and culture, alcohol and tobacco, hotels and restaurants. I'm only quoting the Office for National Statistics family spending workbook from 2023 or 2024, which is readily available for you to go and look up on the internet, so should you so wish. And where I have made a mistake in quoting these figures, as I have in the past, I've told the editor of the place that I've written for, could you make a correction? So I would dispute what your caller has said.
I don't think she likes you.
In my day, when I was young, when you were like about 50 or 60, you were really old and doddery. But now, like 70, 80-year-olds, like you say, going out smoking fags, drinking till they're having the biggest party of all.
Yeah, I will say one thing. When you are 50,
Mick Jagger,
you will look quite old.
Keith Richards.
Because you do look quite old now.
Yes,
How old are you now?
Bob Stewart,
I'm
Rod
26
Stewart.
now. I've
You're
just turned
26?
Yes.
OK. I'm going to be honest with you. You do look a bit older.
Yes, I was talking to a girl recently and she said you look in excess of 30, 35, she said. And I went, oh,
that's
I didn't want to look
years,
that old.
But it's not your face or your body. It is the styling. It is the styling. OK, Tristan in Southend. Tristan, what do you want to say to Charles Amos tonight?
Hello, gentlemen. Charles, good evening, sir. Pleasure to speak to you. Charles, I'm like a stuck record on the TV, to be honest, because I'm registered blind. I've lost the very last bit of eyesight I had this week. It has gone. I'm epileptic as well, full time. Now, I want to work, Charles, but the thing is, it's not being funny. Why not give a proportion of my benefits to an employer in subsidy to employ me? Then you've not got to create the workhouses. How does that sound?
Yeah, good idea.
Well, no. Did you hear that?
Subsidise a workplace for Tristan with his benefits.
So rather than pay benefits, do in-work benefits for Tristan.
Yeah.
So,
well, in-work benefits do exist today. Universal credit is an in-work benefit. I think one of the central...
But this would be a guaranteed thing for disabled people, Charles, because the thing is, they do exist, but employers are not taking the chance on disabled people. And without incentive, they're not going to. And I keep getting rejected because employers say they can't get insurance for me.
Why, are you a fire hazard or something? What's right?
That's almost discriminatory.
That is very unfortunate for you, and I lament your predicament. Philip Davies, about 10 years ago, raised a solution to this, and everybody shot him down, but I think he was right in raising this solution. Get rid of the minimum wage for disabled people. Unfortunately, they're not as productive as able people, and if they can only produce goods at £8 an hour, but the minimum wage is £12 an hour, then who in their right mind would employ them?
Shouldn't it be subsidised by the government, as Tristan is saying?
Sorry, gentlemen.
That extra £3-4
Go ahead.
Can I just ask you, instead, how about paying people less than they're worth in the minimum wage? Because you're going to make people worse off in a big way. Why not subsidise it through the savings you make by not paying someone welfare their wages?
But you could do both, actually. What you could say is, right, we're abolishing the minimum wage for disabled people, but we recognise there is a minimum standard of living that they deserve, and therefore we're going to top it up. I mean, that would be precisely the same thing.
I think that would be a good second best thing to do. I'm a libertarian who believes taxation is theft, so I don't believe taxation to subsidise the disabled is warranted. But if we are going to give money away, I'd rather it go to the disabled than the able people who are totally unproductive and are just lying on their bums. I think that seems right, or at least in the second best sense.
Right, we got a little
Sorry,
breaky. We got a little break here. Thanks, Tristan. We got Charles with us. That's Charles Amos. He's been on and got thrown out by James Wales last time.
And you.
And me. Yeah, no, I did as well. I'm always there. You know, I've got to back him up. You know. But we're not going to do that tonight so far. So you feel all right? You're getting more confident, but I don't think we're going to throw you out.
Getting more confident.
So give us a ring, 03444991000. You want to talk to Charles, and we'll be back with him on Talk and Assisted Dying. Maybe that's a solution next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is the Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. And Charles, I think people have had a bit of a go at you, or at least Lowry did. But when he said you're keeping your own, look, I want to ask you about the cousin marriage. And I know we're not going to talk fully about everything that was contained in your previous article, but I do want to say that cousin marriage is allowed within the Muslim community, and it does cause additional disabilities. And I just want to say that when people make poor decisions in life, why should the taxpayer be forced to pick up the bill for that? Because if people are disabled as a result of cousin marriage, shouldn't they have to pay themselves?
I promised my mother not to talk about incest on the radio, but I'll talk about something that's very analogous to incest. If you go rock climbing and you fall off a cliff and you disable yourself, and you're aware that you could disable yourself by going rock climbing and falling off the cliff, that's on you. And I think if you also engage in other activities which impose a cost on the taxpayer, and you knowingly do so, you should pick up the cost, not expect the taxpayer to pick up the cost for you. And I think you can draw your own conclusions in regards to incest about that.
Sorry, I thought we were talking about incest that was currently illegal. I do apologise. Okay, let's move on. Pat is in...
Assisted dying.
Oh, assisted dying. Okay, let's talk about assisted dying.
You're all for it, aren't you? I mean, you know, with the old people situation, would you actually approve of people once they get to a certain age being...
No.
No, good, right. You don't go that far, right?
Sorry, he doesn't want to cull, right?
No, I don't want to cull.
You don't know with him. He might have some great ideas.
No.
So let me tell you something about assisted dying. I think that the current idea is incredibly silly, and I'll tell you why. Because I think you are playing God. Medicine is inherently playing God by extending somebody's life. But very often, when you're talking about assisted dying, withdrawal of treatment is normally enough. This deliberate, you know, sort of having people put put down, I think is an incredibly dangerous thing, simply because there is a tendency to fail to protect the individual concerned. And so why can't we end up in a situation whereby treatment is based on the person's viability to live, rather than what we're talking about at the moment in assisted dying, which is offing with people? Do you draw a distinction?
Individuals should be free to do as they please with their own person and property, and that includes to put themselves down, or indeed have somebody else put them down if they so consent.
And if they're on right of their mind, not if they're not in their right mind.
And if they're in their right mind, although I'm not entirely sure of questions about people that aren't in their right mind. I think that's very complicated.
But our concern is, or my concern, is the pressure that people will be put under. Yeah. I honestly think that, you know, withdrawal treatment and sedating people is a far better idea. Plus, there's the other thing that presumably you are strongly in favour of, which is people who are, you know, there was a case in wherever country it was of a 20-year-old who was a bit depressed.
Oh, yeah. There was a guy in Canada who just was insolvent, had no money, and literally got permission because he had no money left to euthanize. And this is the trouble, once you open
presumably
that door...
Presumably you're more keen on that than with Granny.
I'm not in favour of 20-year-olds killing themselves on the whole, because it's an imprudent decision. But I think people should be free to make imprudent decisions.
Right.
If we should be free to smoke and lose 10 years of our life on average, I think for the same set of reasons, we should be free to imprudently commit suicide or undergo
But what if you know,
dying?
as a 40, 50-year-old person, when you're 20, you know that she would probably not regret doing it if she got to 40, and so maybe you should stop them for their own good.
Well, I think that would be wrong, and I think if you saw somebody smoking, I imagine you as an individual would not go and use force to stop that person from smoking. I think that reveals your true liberal beliefs. But I'd have to disagree with you, Andre, about the pressure point. Certainly, if you're going to say that pressure and undue pressure is reason to stop assisted dying, it's also reason to stop letting people die, because people could be pressured into having the plug pulled.
Yes.
And that is almost murder as far as I'm concerned. It's certainly
then the government's
a wrongful letting die.
So it's my problem that I'm just squeamish about a lethal injection.
It may be. I don't know your psychology, but I think that might be one of the answers. I mean, there is a distinction in morality between deliberately killing somebody and letting them die. There's the doctrine of the double effect, which Thomas Aquinas came up with, or was it somebody else? I think it was Thomas Aquinas.
Well, it was either Thomas Aquinas or somebody else.
I know somebody else is a very good answer.
One or
the other one beginning with an A. I can't quite remember the name. But yes, there is a distinction, but I think given most people believe suicide should be legal, that you can deliberately take your own life, then I don't see how those same people can object to other people deliberately taking their lives.
What about farmers? Because this has happened this year. There's farmers who are topping themselves to beat the inheritance tax trap. That's literally happening. Would you say they're right to do that? I think it's the government have blood on their hands.
I think the government do have blood on their hands, yes.
Good, yeah.
I mean, it might be a tax-efficient thing to do. It might be advisable from an accountant's point of view, but I don't think you should always follow an accantant's point of view to minimise taxation.
It was for his family, wasn't it?
The other point to make is about suicide, that most medical professionals agree that suicide is by definition evidence of an unsound mind.
Used to be a criminal offence.
I would question that. I think some people rationally decide to commit suicide. Certainly,
but not healthy financially. I mean, if you're healthy, financially solvent, happily married or whatever, it would be evidence.
I think you can be of sound mind and make imprudent choices. I don't think the fact that you make imprudent choices means that you're not of sound mind.
Right.
But
at the same time, what about getting sectioned under the Mental Health Act? When somebody is considered to be a danger to themselves, they are sectioned and they're held against their will, having not committed a crime. Presumably you're unhappy with that as well.
If somebody's insane, I think there might be a case for sectioning them. I think
no, but if I now said I'm going to jump off this building, that would in of itself be enough to have me sectioned under the Mental Health Act, because it's not insanity they section you for, it's being a danger to yourself or others.
Okay, well then I'd question that set of laws then. But I don't think when it comes to assisted dying that all of these questions are relevant, because we are dealing, unfortunately, with about 6,000 people who are in immense agony in the 6 months before that they die, and it is rational for those individuals to want to be put down in order to avoid the agony, even if they lose those 6 months, which probably don't hold that much in it for them. So I'm very pleased that the House of Lords voted to pass the second reading this evening, or this afternoon.
Can we get Stephen in London? He wants to have a little word with you, Charles. Stephen.
Come on, Charles. Come on, Stephen.
Hi. I'm an anarcho-capitalist as well, a libertarian. So thank you for giving Charles the airtime to let people know about our views. I disagree slightly with Charles in that, although I think I would get rid of the welfare state, but charities would play a part, but they wouldn't be the main thing. The welfare state would be replaced by private insurance companies. So for healthcare, for instance, you pay a premium each month for your healthcare if you were sick, if you needed an operation, and then according to how much you paid into, you get a fully qualified doctor.
Stephen, the one thing that people forget is the vast majority of welfare in any country is funded by the family. And so children receiving, forget private schooling, any schooling, you still need school shoes, you still need school uniform, you still need breakfast, lunch and dinner, you still need a roof over your head. And I think we forget that actually the amount that is delivered just by family and friends anyway.
Well, just to continue my point, you'd each take up private health insurance, and then if you were sick, you'd get a service for how much you paid in. You get a fully qualified doctor, but if you paid in more premium each month, you get a nicer room, you get better meals, just like nowadays you get for
two-tier health system.
Stephen, are you saying this? Are you saying this because you think the NHS is awful?
Well, I'm against socialism, so I think everything should be privatised and led by the market.
Nice one. Thanks, Steve.
Well, I don't think Charles...
I agree with Stephen.
Right,
what
Pat,
a great caller you've got
Pat,
there.
I think you're in Stepney, aren't you, Pat?
What have
in
you done
London,
to me, Pat?
East London. Call Pat.
What have you done to me, Pat?
Yeah, good evening.
Evening, Pat.
You know, your guest, he's talked. He was mentioning the workhouse. Well, the thing is, I come from an area where it was abject poverty, you know, going back...
The whole of this country, it was like that.
Well, no, but I'm talking about in where I come from.
I think the East End was famous.
Only because Charles Dickens wrote about that. It was everywhere. They had it in Birmingham, they had them there in all this Manchester.
But I'm talking about, I'm talking about the area I come from. Where? If you couldn't pay...
Stepney, East London.
If you couldn't pay your rent, which was pennies, they chucked the landlord, kicked you out, and you had to go to the workhouse. Now... if you couldn't afford an old bed with a wooden bed with straw in it, you had to have the tuppenny hangover. Do you know that?
That's the rope, sleeping on the rope.
Sleep. Do you realise that's what you're saying about the workhouse? Do you want to go back to that?
No, it would be a modern workhouse.
No, and actually, I think it's interesting. But Charles, perhaps you can answer that. I'll tell you how I would answer it. I would answer it in that. Here's what I see about the workhouse. I see that each local parish is required to look after their poor, to house them, to clothe them, to feed them, and if they create their own building to do that and give them a job, I'm happy with that. What's your view?
I would agree. I think we need a far harsher welfare state. And one of the ways we could have a far harsher welfare state is to have the workhouse brought back. And sure, the harsh treatment that your caller talks about, and what was the caller's name?
Pat.
The harsh treatment that Pat talks about, it is very harsh.
But
and it's certainly not something we're used to today. But I think on the whole, that makes people better individuals because it requires them to pull themselves together and stand on their own 2 feet. So in the long term, I think it's probably best for them.
Listen. So you live in a community, so all that community is as poor as you are. Yeah. So you go to the church. Well, who pays the church?
Okay, Pat. Can I throw this back at you? We've got people that work in this building who are just starting at their career, who may be on 20 grand a year or whatever. They are paying for people who are on benefits, who are going on annual holidays every year. And you think to yourself, well, why should these people go to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, so that somebody can go down boozing at the pub at the weekend and go on holidays to Benidorm?
See, the thing is, that's fair enough. What you say is fair enough comment. But the point is, I think I'm 69 now, and I've been about 3 years, like claiming my state pension. right? And before that, I was working, because I used to work in a market, my dad's market stall, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, going to New Covent Garden, buying me gear and punting it out for most of the day, right? At the end of the day, sorry, but you couldn't do that. You couldn't. You ain't capable of doing that sort of graft.
Charles. You're not, are you, Charles? You're not capable of getting up at 4 in the morning and selling whelks.
I don't know. All I will say against that is this. I was a baggage handler for a couple of months, and I did wake up at 1 a.m. in the morning.
5 years.
All right, look, we got to break.
Pat, I don't know. I'm going to say this. I would pay money to watch you as a baggage handler.
Well, if you pay me enough, perhaps I will become a baggage handler again.
Smashing the cases up, didn't you? I bet you're one of them.
But for many hours, 8 hours a day, I was a baggage handler.
Anyway, look, we've got a break, Charles. We'll be back in 2 minutes. We've got to go a quick break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
So we're having quite a good time with Charles Amos. He's advocated for the workhouse. He's advocated for an abolition of state pension, or at least a massive reduction. And he's saying that assisted dying should be allowed. Also, you say that men are more virtuous than women. And this is a bit where we might disagree. Explain.
Probably not.
Men are more virtuous than women because they have a greater urge towards aggression. And if you're overcoming a great number of urges, it's really against your self-interest to be virtuous. I think you are more virtuous as a person. So if we're just looking at the virtue of justice, men are more just on that metric alone than women because they have a great urge and ability to commit violence.
The purity of it.
And the medium man, note the medium man, does not commit any violence, does not have a criminal record, just as the medium woman doesn't. So they overcome the urges to violence and they have the capacity to violence to a greater extent than women. Certainly when it comes to the
violence
virtue
is virtuous, is what you're saying.
No, the overcoming of violence.
The overcoming of violence is virtuous.
Jordan Peterson says that because there is an underlying risk of violence with every male interaction, that affects that interaction. That's inevitable. But he actually says that because there's no underlying risk of violence with women, they tend to slag each other off a lot more.
Reputational, they ruin your reputation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The reason why men won't keep going and going and going with an argument at a pub, say, is because they know they'll get punched in the face.
Yes.
Women will keep on going and going and going at a man because they know ultimately the man is not going to hit them.
Right.
And that's, of course, the same in female relationships because they don't tend to hit each other.
And so actually, if you are talking about in the workplace, Jordan Peterson says that obviously there will be a lot of bitchiness that will come into a workplace when you have more women in the workplace.
I would agree with that, although I don't work with a great number of women, so I wouldn't know.
Okay.
Reputational damage is what he says. He says men use physical force and women it's reputational, which is why 95% of violent criminals are male.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
I think that's a very good
And also,
point.
Everyone who always slags you off is normally a woman. either literally or figuratively.
Right, we got one. Zarina's texted in. Boulder Dash, the workhouse was a place of pain and death, a last resort. The unemployed should be made to work, but many people who claim benefits are already working. Get some perspective, please.
All right,
Charles.
Many of the unemployed are already working,
you know,
then they can't
secretly.
be unemployed.
Many
Well,
claim-
you know,
Okay.
all that,
How about this for a system? This is my understanding of the system in Switzerland. I love Switzerland.
Yeah.
Switzerland, you lose your job, you receive 80% of your pay, right, as unemployment benefit.
Yeah.
But it's a loan. It's a loan only, right? And in exchange, to get the loan, you have to go Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, applying for a job. I think that's an excellent system.
Relative to the welfare state that we have today, I do think that's an excellent system because people wouldn't carry on being unemployed because they think, gosh, I've got this massive loan I've got to repay.
So
it
And you've got to
internalises
go to
the
work
cost.
anyway.
It
Yeah.
internalises the cost of being unemployed to them.
Brilliant.
So it stops an overproduction.
And I think the other great thing about it, it means that dads around the country know that if they lose the job, the kids won't be out on the street and they will have that stopgap for a month or two while they're applying for a new job. I love that system.
But crucially, they've still got the incentive to go out to work.
Correct.
They're not likely to fall into the unemployment trap that we have today, where you don't have to work. You can just sign on to, incapacity benefit or disability benefit or whatever it is, or unemployment benefit, and get paid.
If you could change one thing about this country right now, what would it be?
Prime Minister. Well, the government.
That's a very, very, very good
Because
question.
the thing is, you want to reimagine the whole system. What could we do to get... Because I think most people are going to say, we don't agree with Charles that there can be no tax, but we do agree it should be greatly reduced. We do agree the burden of the state should be reduced, the scope of the state should be reduced, and all of these things. What do we do first to go down that street?
Introduce a flat tax.
Okay, explain what that would do in 1 minute.
Have a 20% flat tax, get rid of the 45p rate and the 40p rate.
I agree, yeah.
The rich should not be paying any more for public
What would the
services.
threshold be? 20 grand before you pay tax, or 10 grand?
The poor. Keep it at £12,500. I think if we're going to have some kind of taxation, then maybe the poor should pay some of it, because otherwise, if they don't pay it,
got no skin in the game.
Exactly, they're just going to vote for more
Should
and more state
I
services.
was once in the papers because I said you should only get to vote once you earn 50 grand or more, but two people with 25 grand could club together and get one vote. What do you think of that? Because if you're not paying your tax, why should you have your say? You know, no representation without taxation, but also you got to pay taxation to get representation.
I don't believe in democracy, and that's the second or third best question, so I don't really know the answer, but I'm sympathetic to it insofar as it would protect the productive from the unproductive.
Now, I want to tell you one thing about tax. Charles, take this with you. Angela Rayner's problem in life, with the people not paying enough tax in this country, right, she doesn't realise something. The other person is you. When Angela Rayner was talking about taxing the rich on their second homes and all this, she didn't realise that she was the rich. The problem with tax is the other person is you. You're the one that's going to end up paying the bill. Is that fair?
I think in the long term, for a great number of people, that is the case. I mean, the state is only going to be able to finance its great national debt in the future by increasing VAT or income tax or national insurance.
We're out of time, Charles.
On working people.
Thanks so
Thank you
much.
very much for joining
That's Charles
us, mate.
Amos. We were quite nice to him.
Throw him out.
Thank you.
Get him out of here.
Get him out. Back in a moment.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
So as you know, this used to be the James Whale Show, and we will always miss that great man. So every single week at 11 o'clock on a Friday, we have our own tribute to him, which Asher introduces.
And tonight's episode of The Great Whale and some of his previous escapades, they all seem to be about throwing people out of the studio. We will have other ones, but, you know, people do love that. You know, we'll have one where he drugs... No, he's never drugged anyone in. But tonight's one is no different to the others and, you know, just as spicy. And it was Narinder Kaur. Yes, that's right, Narinder Kaur. She was in the show, and obviously she weren't going to last long, was she? And she was talking about Palestine and giving a very great opinion on this situation. And, well, enough of me talking about it. Let's see what happened. Show the dog the rabbit.
We fought a major war 80 years ago against anti-Semitism, and now the kids who go marching have no bloody idea what they're doing.
Have you been on any of the marches? I have.
No, I don't want to go on them. I don't want to mix with
then
people
therefore
like
you've got, I don't know what experience you've got. You've got no say. You've got no right.
Which march did you go on?
I went on the march back in, it was Diwali time, so it was November, and then I went on another one. And I tell you something, those
and what
marches,
did you chant?
I didn't chant anything, actually.
What were they chanting?
Oh, no, they were chanting Free Palestine or Free something like that. I didn't hear these chants that you said. Let me finish. Now, the point is,
you know,
these marches...
is very rude.
These marches are full of families, prams, babies, love, peace, quietness. I felt welcomed. I didn't hear anything. There's Jews on those marches.
Yeah, I know, the dodgy Jews, the 1% ones.
Okay, there you go, dodgy
who are
Jews.
anti-Israel.
There you go, dodgy Jews.
Well, yeah, they're very anti-Israel.
They're anti-genocide. They're not anti-Israel.
There's not a genocide going on.
They're anti-genocide.
Who do you say every war is a genocide?
Oh, come on, Ash.
It's one innocent person to one terrorist being...
13,000 children
Well, that's
dead
according to Hamas.
OK, then let's just say 6,000.
Do you count under 18 as a child? And under 18 terrorists?
Hey, still bad.
Enough.
It's still bad.
Enough, both of you.
You can't sit there saying,
war, isn't it? It's terrible. It's terrible. That's war.
Just calm down.
I'm not going to have,
both of you,
I'm not going to have on my watch,
move on.
as a British patriot,
this is pointless.
children dying
But you had it with Iraq and Afghanistan.
That shouldn't happen either. None of these things should be happening.
So you don't believe in any war?
Okay.
You're a pacifist.
Just a minute. I'm going to give you a minute each.
Pacifist.
You put the clock on. You've got a minute.
I should never have a minute. Okay.
Hesitation, deviation. Yeah. So basically, they are. It's not a genocide. Israel, actually, it's being studied by General to see how they can keep the innocent civilian counts alive.
Oh God!
You believe? Well, no, it is. I mean, that's just a fact.
International Court of Justice. I think
you believe in
4
Hamas
out of 5
figures?
of how it nearly is a genocide.
You believe in the Hamas figures?
Narinder.
They're the only figures
I'm going to have more time now.
They're the only figures that we could get.
This is my minute.
Israel doesn't let any journalists in to make sure that we can make sure this is correct.
So you just assume Hamas are correct then?
Well, let's say they're a bit wrong.
You're getting.
Let's say they're a bit. No, I'm not angry.
Me have a minute.
I'm a passionate Geordie.
Then don't get angry.
No,
what about the poor Palestinians who are being subjugated by Hamas, and you're supporting Hamas against them?
What about Israel throwing all the bombs and killing 13,000? Okay, let's just say
that's called war.
6,000 kids. Is that okay then? That's okay.
Is a 17-year-old terrorist
bombing playgrounds?
Is a 17-year-old kid a terrorist? Can a 15-year-old be
playing with a football?
They avoid playgrounds. When they see a play with kids on, they go, "Don't bomb it." There's a playground.
Ash, you give dogs water.
Loads of video of that.
There's a dog here. You'd give dog water. They're not even getting water. I feel dirty even talking about it.
That's not true. Everything you say is not true.
You're talking from stuff you've seen on the internet.
Then you're talking about stuff on the internet.
I'm talking about facts.
You cannot have
Colonel Richard Kemp, people like that.
Any idea. In a war, unfortunately, civilians get killed. There are more civilians getting killed probably in Ukraine and Russia. We're not having anybody talk about that because
we've had some... No, we're not. Do you know how much money we've just given Ukraine?
Because where it's being fought in Gaza... Will you be quiet and listen? Because of what is happening in Gaza, it's a very small area, what?
Gaza.
What did I say?
Gaza.
Whatever it is.
So there's never been so few innocent people killed in any modern warfare.
Have you been there?
That's just a fact.
At least.
Even with Hamas figures, there's never been so few innocent people
listen,
killed.
you can, whichever way you're going to slice the pie. Yeah, whichever way you're going to slice the pie.
Let's use the Hamas figures. Let's use the Hamas pie.
Let's half the Hamas figures just to make it a bit fair.
Well, no, double them, and it's still a record. It's even double them, and it's really low.
6,000 kids have died.
Yeah.
I don't even want 6 kids dying.
Nor do Israel. Hamas do, though.
We are funding.
We're funding Hamas. We're funding UNRWA. We're funding.
I can't do this if you carry on doing this. I'll have to ask you to leave.
Let James say something.
Thank you. It's my show after all.
Can he have 10 seconds?
If you go on like this, I'm wondering why you want to live here. And if there is a better country than this, where is it?
Why do you,
because you go on about how terrible. What the colour of my skin got to do with it?
You go and live somewhere else.
Well,
why'd you say
if
that?
I didn't like it, you could say that to me.
Do you say that to Chuck?
I say it to anyone. You really are racist, aren't you?
No, you are racist.
You're racist.
You're racist.
You could say it to a Polish person. You could say it to a Polish person. Why did you? You're the one who focused on the colour.
I don't even see your colour.
I
can assure you I'm not weak and I'm not racist.
Shall I tell you why you did? Because the first thing you said when it came to criticism was, why don't you live somewhere else?
Well, you could have said that to a Polish person.
Middle-aged white
It's not
man.
racist, is it?
That's why you said it to me.
You racist?
No, you're racist.
No, I've had enough. I am serious. I've had enough.
Ain't going.
No.
Ain't going. You invited me on. I'm the guest. I ain't
going.
Go
to a break now.
Until I sort this out.
We can't.
Play.
The break's even lovely.
You can't take a break early.
Because
so what
you can't
do
handle
I do?
it, James. You can't handle it, James.
I can handle it.
Well, you don't have any argument.
I did have an argument.
But I just said to you.
My point being is...
But let me just have a little 20 seconds.
You're going back to that then.
Yeah, because you had no argument.
He says go back. He says go... Oh, he's gone by.
Now you've thrown James Wales out.
Ash, you've got your own show.
And what a show it was actually much better. But yeah, that was the only guest he was thrown out but didn't actually leave. Apart from there was that Terry Tobbs or whatever. That's my art. He left of his own accord. He just decided.
But hang on, didn't Whale leave and she stayed?
Yeah, sometimes he used to leave. That used to Tony Topping. He used to leave the studio and it would just be me and then, you know, and that's what would happen. And he'd come back in the end though. He was all right. But look who's joined us. It's our mate Dave. Phil Dave. All right. Phil.
Good evening, gents.
So he's coming in. We're going to go through.
Reassure me, you're not going to throw me out the studio.
Well,
we don't. So you've got a lovely suntan. Have you been on holiday somewhere?
Are you kidding me? A lovely suntan. I go in the sun.
Well,
and
I just had to say something.
He goes white.
Ash is more tanned than I am.
He goes whiter in the sun.
And it's really weird. I do.
So you've just been in Tel Aviv and all over Israel and seen some of the places.
I've seen terrible scenes of apartheid. Oh, sorry, no, that's a myth. No, it's honestly, it's absolutely glorious. It's amazing. I mean, there's definitely obviously a different atmosphere for obvious reasons.
Explain.
Normally you would sort of see everyone just going about day-to-day life, enjoying it a lot more. There are a lot of people who clearly sort of act with a lot more trepidation, don't enjoy themselves quite as much because obviously the country is at war.
And there's sirens going off every now and then. You have to get in the shelters.
Yeah, I mean, I had to go to shelters twice, which was a bit irritating, but I don't think that's terrible in 2 weeks, considering at one stage they were every single night at the peak of it. So that wasn't completely terrible. The other thing that really makes you realise that there is something quite different at the moment is that you can't even turn a corner without seeing some reference, quite rightly, to those still being held hostage in Gaza.
And remind us, where are we up to with that?
Well, what we're up to is that of the original 200 and something that were originally captured, I believe there are now around 40, 50 left, and it is widely believed that no more than half of them are still alive.
Okay.
And even today, Hamas was threatening the lives of the remaining.
We saw that horrendous pictures of the Israeli guy who looked like someone out of Belsen. He was skin and bone. They were making him dig his own grave. It's disgusting what they're doing.
It's
disgusting what the UN did, calling it a genocide when it blatantly isn't.
I thought what Trump said was it sounded a bit silly, but was a really good point. Every single person that is held hostage, there is somebody within the hostage team that does or says something nice. Whether it's, hey, look, just have a bit of extra food today, or I'll sit and talk to you.
I had hostages saying there wasn't even one person
So Trump had spoken to hostages who've come out of Gaza who say there was none of that. None of that. Normally there is. I mean, with Ken Bigley, somebody actually released him. Right now, obviously, they recaptured him and beheaded him, which was absolutely awful. But there was somebody who liked him that much. They said there was no kindness, there was no generosity, there was no decency whatsoever. These people are just hate-filled.
And starving.
Of course they are. Well, I mean, apart from anything, I think one has to look at apart from the hostages who have obviously already been, thank goodness, released and gone back home, I think what you need to really consider is that we have learnt from hostage cases in the past. They're probably one of the most famous hostages of recent time in Israel is a chap by the name of Gilad Shalit. He was held captive for years, a very long time he was held captive for. And again, it was on the basis of him being, he would be released on the basis that Israel would release a load of either convicted criminals or would release a load of people awaiting some sort of trial. And naturally, they did do that. And of course, we've sort of seen what's happened. I don't remember if it was exactly, I mean, Ash, I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if it was necessarily in exchange for Gilad Shalit in particular, but I know that Yasser Sinwar, the guy
I think it was Gilad Shalit. And they'd operated on him, cured his cancer, and he still said to the doctor, you know, I think it was a Palestinian doctor in his, because a lot of them, like, there's no apartheid in Israel. They're doctors, judges and everything. And then he went on to, after they saved his life...
Mastermind.
But that was the question, that was the question I wanted to ask you, Phil, and I'm glad you raised the issue of Sinwar. So he's the one that got killed with the drone.
Yeah.
I wonder about this. Now, if it was my family member, if it was my relative, if it was my friend, then I might feel differently. But I just wonder what is the sanity with Israel of these prisoner swaps? Because in the case of Sinwar, this guy, they gave him an operation on his brain, kept him alive, only to plan an atrocity that was even worse. But here's the other side of it. I think it's just incredibly hard to turn around and say to the families, I'm sorry, we will not be negotiating for your family.
But Israel, on the other hand, won't negotiate with terrorists on planes. They just blank refuse it, and that's why it stopped it. They refuse to even negotiate. So I don't understand why that. I mean, I understand but they've even done it with dead bodies of Israelis, swapped 1,000. I think that's just out, because people will kill living people.
There is a very unpopular view that I suppose one needs to address. And that is that actually, for as long as hostages remain in captivity on both sides of the fence, it means convenience for the leaders. It's convenient for Hamas because naturally Israel's going to use it as a perfectly justified reason to go into Gaza and to carry on their efforts to remove Hamas from the region. But at the same time, it also means that then it's convenient for Hamas because then they can turn around and say, oh, look what those nasty Israelis are doing to us. They're making our poor people suffer. So it's convenient on both sides, if I'm honest.
And without it, they've got no defence at all.
Don't Hamas say... Isn't it the position of Hamas now? I mean, it's ironic asking you as a British journalist what the position of Hamas is, but let's just throw this out. They basically say, look, we can put our human shields in hospitals. We've done pretty well from their perspective. The footage is awful, and the IDF are being accused of a genocide. So that is a result. We've killed a load of our own kids, but we don't care. So that's good. So
they don't care at all. Yeah.
Well, no, they want that.
So the next thing is we are starting to seriously be operationally crippled as Hamas, but we've got two things in favour of this. So we're down the tunnels. These tunnels are incredibly sophisticated. It's like having the M6 down there.
Apparently 75% of the tunnels are still down.
Yeah. So we know there is only one thing to do to get rid of Hamas's elite. That's to either get down the tunnels or to gas the tunnels. And to gas the tunnels, you have to kill Israeli civilians. I've said for a long time, even though it would be particularly egregiously offensive for an Israeli government to do this, I think the Israeli government needs to gas the tunnels.
I think that either I wouldn't.
I mean,
you imagine Jews gassing Jews.
Correct,
I mean, and also it's such a small country. Everyone knows everybody. You know what I mean? There would be a lot.
I mean, it would not just be. Sorry, Phil. Before you answer, let me just say it would not just be deemed to be a war crime. It would not merely deemed to be targeting civilians, but it would be particularly offensive to do it as the Israeli government.
Yeah, that's why there was actually a very credible and plausible suggestion of actually sort of opening the floodgates, quite literally.
They did pump in seawater
and actually sort of try and do it that way. But the interesting thing I would suggest that is that there are obviously certain substances that can be used that don't necessarily destroy people and actually kill them. It could also either render them unconscious or make them absolutely stink to the point where they want to get out. So there are ways around it. But no, what I was going to say on the tunnel front anyway is that when I was in Tel Aviv, there's an area that they have taken over now as one of the squares, one of the main squares in Tel Aviv, that's now been dubbed Hostage Square, and it's because they've set up permanent memorials to those who are being held captive. And one of the things that they've done is they've actually built a replica tunnel of what those tunnels are like. And I went inside it to experience it, and I have to say that in 30-degree heat, for a matter of minutes, it was unbearable. So I can't even begin to imagine what it's like for days on end being stuck down there. But
they do have air conditioning, and all the mod cons down there. A lot of the Hamas hostages won't. Well, they've got kitchens, bathrooms.
It actually varies. My understanding is it varies as a system. There are some where there are literally dual carriageways down there, and there are other bits which are bunkers.
Yeah, look, it may well be the case. I don't. Thankfully, I have never been down any of those tunnels, but all I do know is that the tunnels alone should tell people exactly what they need to know, because billions in foreign aid have been squandered. Rather than building infrastructure and making a decent place for people who identify as Palestinians to live.
And they won't let the children and women in the tunnels.
Hang on, but in all of that, rather than spending the billions on trying to build a decent area and a decent so-called country, they've used that money to build a terrorist infrastructure.
Do you know Gaza? There are so you're not allowed in the tunnels if you are a civilian. You're only allowed in if you're Hamas. But okay, and there's no trains or whatever. But if there were trains, it would be bigger than the London Underground.
Yes, there are more tunnels than the London Underground.
I mean, that is an extraordinary thought.
Well, it's even more extraordinary when you consider that Gaza is landmass-wise the size of Birmingham.
Yeah. And I'll tell you another thing before we go to the front pages. And apologies for being slow, but Phil's obviously just come back. Here is the other thing about it. If you are unsure as a viewer or listener who is in the right and who is in the wrong, remember one thing. They do not evacuate civilians from Gaza into the tunnels that are bomb-proof when the Israelis attack. They do not do that. Now, what would you do? What would I do? What would Asher do or Phil do if there was an attack now and we had a bunker in the bottom of this building? I assume we do, but okay. We would want civilians to get in there. What they say is...
That's what Israel does.
They say terrorists only. You lot have to stand here because we're hoping that there'll be a stray bullet or a stray missile or a stray shell from Israel so we can film you dying.
And it's the only war where the UN, normally they want to get the women and children out. It's the only war where the UN tell countries, don't you dare take them in. They've got to stay there. Because, of course, the UN are with Hamas, hand in hand. And the Daily Express, we're going to go through the papers now.
That's right.
Is the one in, one out scheme going, Keir? Labour has been ridiculed for boasting about, boating's probably more accurate, about its new migrants return deal with France, as just 3 were sent back in the 5 days. Deputy PM David Lammy called Sir Keir Starmer one in, one out, packed a milestone. I mean, it reminds me of when he goes, we're going to smash the gangs, and then he announced a big press conference and he came and he went, we've arrested a man in Turkey. And that was the whole thing. And today, or yesterday, they did the same thing. We've got rid of one. I mean, we've taken about 3,000 in since then.
I was going to say, and it is just laughable. And one in, one out. Apart from anything, can we please just stop and think for a second? Let's just say hypothetically.
One in, one out.
Every single migrant that arrives, one is returned, all of that malarkey. One in, one out means we're still stuck with the same number. It's not a good deal. It's awful.
We'll take more because they'll be able to bring
and then there are even more that come in. It doesn't do anything.
There's a whole plane coming from France. Apparently, the French are revolting.
Phil, I phoned Peter Caldwell because something had happened on his show. And I said, Peter, is this actually true that our Rwanda deal was for every person we sent to Rwanda, they'd send a disabled Rwandan to Britain? And that was true. That was actually true.
And there's a picture there of loads of people on a boat, men, women, and children. Oh no, sorry, it's just men of military age arriving on the shore.
Hey, by the way, I understand this front page of the Daily Express. I understand from somebody was telling me that we've got this wrong. It's not just men leaving these countries, but the women and children get kidnapped and sold into slavery by these lot on the boats.
Goodness me.
Well, there were 70 murdered on the way from Africa to Spain because they were accused of witchcraft by the other boat people on it, and they killed them, tortured them, killed them, threw them over the side. 10,000
kind
people
of lunacy
a year.
they believe in, I'm afraid.
10,000 people a year are drowning going across from Spain to Europe. Anyway, we've got a little break here, have we? 0344 499 1000. It's Dave, Phil Dave. It's me and Andre on Talk, and we'll be back in a jiffy.
Yes, this is a paper review with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Phil Dave, commonly known as Phil.
Dave.
OK, we've got the front page of The Sun here. This is really interesting. Yeah. Go on, Asher.
Met bid to nail Maddie suspect. He refused to be questioned. He's a bit of a troll, this guy. Madeleine McCann detectives have secretly flown to Portugal to quiz two ex-pals of prime suspect Christian Bruckner. They spent several hours speaking to a couple who took in the German months before 3-year-old Madeleine was abducted from the Algarve apartment.
So let's just go through what this evidence appears to be. This is based on what The Sun has already published. So first of all, there is a guy who used to be a drug dealer with Christian Bruckner who has said that he saw Christian Bruckner and he said, I just can't understand how somebody could kidnap a child from a hotel in Playa de Luge when in front of the family, and Bruckner said, yeah, but she didn't scream, which would suggest that he was present at the kidnapping. Also suggests that she was incapable of screaming, which might explain why Mrs. McCann knew she'd been kidnapped.
Also, a child might say, "Oh, come with me, darling," and they just, you know what I mean? She was only 4 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a theory. Well, maybe I shouldn't say this because it might be a bit bad, but I've got a theory about the kid being incapable of screaming. But okay. Anyway, but the next thing is in Playa de Luge, they found a piece of abandoned land that Christian Bruckner used to camp on, and they found a series of materials which showed that he was interested in female toddlers, and it was buried underneath a dead dog to put the scent off of any searches for the pen drives that he had in there. So this guy is a seriously weird guy.
Well, I think that stands to reason if that indeed is the situation that was found. But I mean, I would argue that one of my biggest concerns with the disappearance of Madeleine McCann is actually the part that the press played in all of this. And, and obviously I speak as someone who works in said industry. But the problem you've got is that police investigations, they're obviously highly sensitive and time critical. And when you have, as much as I understand the argument of get publicity out there for whoever the victim or potential victim actually is, because then it raises awareness and hopefully people can be looking for them, it also just actually puts those who are the perpetrators on high alert and possibly sort of causes them to act with even more devious ways that meant that actually they would probably never get caught. And so I'm in two minds. I actually think a lot of the time some things are better off going on behind closed doors and then
but we used to have a TV show in this country called Crime Watch, and they regularly used to lie on that show. In order to, so they'd get people they'd solicit calls, but the reconstructions were often fake. And a reconstruction is fake, but what I mean is they would deliberately ensure that key details were left out so they didn't help the perpetrator.
Well, but actually the main purpose of that, you're right, but the main reason for that is so that if someone did indeed phone up with a lead and they gave a key detail that wasn't then they'd know that was legitimate. That was the main reason they did that. But
there was a case in of one of them where somebody had said, and I won't name the person, but in the reconstruction they said, "Oh my God, somebody's here to kill me." What they'd really said is, "Oh my God, this is Bob Jones's boys." And when they arrested Bob Jones, obviously he was able to quote what they correctly said, not what was actually in the Time Watch reconstruction. But this Christian Bruckner, let me say one other thing about him from a political point of view. The reason he got away with his crimes, whatever they are, over the years, and he's been convicted of a fair number, was really because the Schengen Agreement. He was able to go from country to country without any checks being made. If it's true, and we don't know whether it's true, that he kidnapped Madeleine McCann in Playa de Luge and drove her all the way to Germany, at the time he would have been able to do that with no checks whatsoever. That was a ludicrous situation.
Yeah, and it's only changed because of the migrants, not because of that sort of thing. The Times, being rich doesn't make you popular, says billionaire James Dyson, holding his hairdryer. Well, yeah, probably not. John Cleese is written his Fawlty Towers diary, so...
Celebrate 50 years.
Yeah, 50 years, wow. And China...
you little Spanish stereotype. Do you remember that?
China given licence to spy, failure to prosecute suspects in Westminster case, opens door to foreign agents, Speaker warns. China... Well, they've got that new embassy that no one, MI5, MI6 heads have said don't build it, but the government seem to think it should go ahead. Who's in the pockets of China? That's what I want to know. It's pretty obvious at
I've
this
always
point.
said that if David Lammy wasn't a moron, I'd have thought he was a Chinese spy after his behaviour towards the Chinese
there's
embassy.
certain blacked out bits where they're going to be having their dungeons and things like that because they arrest people in other countries and
No, let's just be clear what the Chinese are proposing to do. They're proposing to build an embassy above the key data link from Canary Wharf to the City of London, and they're going to put a basement in there that nobody knows what they're doing inside. They would legally be entitled to chop the cables and link into them.
They wouldn't even need to, and soon encryption won't work because of quantum computing. So it's a ridiculous situation. MI6, the head of the FBI, the head of MI6, MI5 said don't do it. Lammy, Rayner also, no, we've got to do it. It's where basically opposite the Tower of London. It's where they used to keep all the mint, the Royal Mint, wasn't it?
Genuinely does make you question just how much the government of this country hates this country.
Well, also they like China, and why is that? Yeah, well, let's make your own mind.
China.
Right, next paper, Daily Mail. NATO warned warplanes intercept Putin's jets over Estonia, and after drone incursion, Russian fighters buzz Polish oil rig. Russia flew 3 fighter jets into neighbouring Estonia yesterday in a reckless and brazen attempt to intimidate the Baltic state. They obviously sent drones over into Poland. It's heating up, isn't it? And Russia always like to test things out, don't they?
Well, I was going to say, and this boils down to, of course, the number of times we've heard people say when it comes to the war in Ukraine that there's only so much we can do because Ukraine isn't a member of NATO. So now and a lot of those times those same commentators or political figures have said that if indeed Russia were to invade a NATO country, then it would be very different, then we could get involved. Well, all Russia's doing is just poking the bear.
It's testing out, like they do on our shores. They used to fly over,
But that's exactly what he did with Crimea, to be honest. I mean, let's be honest. When Putin took Crimea, he was just testing Ukraine.
Yes, but all countries do that. The states do that with China on their borders. It's just the way of the world, isn't it? People test out each other's warning systems, testing each other. Also, What's Eating William by A.N. Wilson. I'd like to just know what William eats. What is William eating? What is that?
Toads.
Yeah, foxes.
No,
I would also imagine having a wife and a father recently going through cancer battles has probably taken a very big toll on him.
And his brother and everything.
Did you see Trump? Yeah. You've got an amazing son. Not
you
two.
brought up a great son.
Not two, just the one. Just the one.
He knew what he was doing, didn't he?
He
knew what he was doing, and then he was really praising Kate. You're beautiful, your health is... And that he obviously was having a dig at Meghan there.
Well, I think it's very easy to have a dig at Meghan, let's be honest.
It is. We got a little break here, haven't we? Let's take a little breaky. We'll be back and reconvene in a couple of minutes with more papers.
All right.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is a paper review with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Phil Dave. So, look, The Guardian's next. Are we going to bother?
No, let's not bother.
No, come on, let's get the racist right.
Phil, let's try it, Phil.
You know.
Daily Mail.
But you say, actually, having said
that. Do that, yeah.
I know you want to bypass The Guardian. I absolutely don't blame you. But interestingly, the line, at the top line of The Guardian, two-child benefit cap is spiteful, says this minister. Ministers are a step closest to abandoning the two-child benefit cap after Number 10's preferred candidates to be Labour's deputy leader said the policy was spiteful and had punished and pushed children into hardship. I honest to God, I just don't understand why anyone wouldn't say, hang on a sec, if you can't afford more children, don't have them, because
like
that's what pushes them into
It's
hardship.
like the breakfast at school. Feed your kids yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway.
right. I can't afford to feed my kids. Well, don't
have them.
Just buy a box of cereal.
It's very different. Can I just say, by the way,
is a
it's
box of cereal?
exceptionally different if someone falls on hard times after they clearly could have afforded children in the first place, and then there's a problem. That's very different. But when you're having children for the benefits, you make me sick.
Well, I will say the other thing that we can say, though, in the other direction is this. The reason that people are not having children in this country, and they're not, is because they have to pay for the migrants first and their own people second. We should change that.
Who'd want to bring a child into this country?
Well, we're not. What we're doing is we're saying let's end the birth rate amongst the indigenous population and bring in migrants to replace them. That's the reality. That's what we're doing.
Daily Telegraph, how you can halt slow death of the British pub. I mean, you're all pub people. How can you do? Allow smoking, allow people to talk about what they want, lower the price of beer. It's like £8 a pint. Obviously, whiskey in your case.
I was going to say,
how can we
lower the price of whiskey. It's much cheaper for me to drink at home. Drink responsibly, of course. But no, it's more about I actually really love the pub.
Yeah.
Really love a pub.
Too much.
I just think that all right. I just think there is something so quintessentially British about it and so superbly British about it.
I love you sat there with your lightsaber.
You go.
Right. What is that thing?
It's a pen.
No, that fake cigar you got, the
e-cigar.
lightsaber.
I haven't smoked that for a year.
It's a vape cigar.
It's his lightsaber.
Yeah, no, I don't smoke or vape anymore. So.
Don't you vape?
No, not at all.
So you don't use the lightsaber?
No, I haven't done that for over a year.
Man should have his vice.
So,
why not?
No, I do. Whiskey is my vice.
Good.
But no,
so what's the best whiskey at the moment?
Oh, crumbs. I mean, that's a...
What's your favourite?
You bought an interesting bottle up in Israel, you were telling me, in the Golan, a distillery in the Golan.
There's a distillery in the Golan Heights called Golani, and...
so they've come up with a very
I was going to
innovative
say,
name.
Took them a long time to come up with that name. And so I bought a bottle of that whilst I was over there, and it's very nice. It's quite
single malt, obviously. Single malt.
It is. Well, it's curious. The way they describe it is as uni-cask is the way they describe it. So I don't know if it's necessarily single malt per se.
Uni-cask means that it's
from one cask.
What's individual bottling?
So single malt.
Yes.
It's just a modern way of saying it, isn't it?
Exactly. But it's a fascinating whiskey that actually sort of really has quite the kick to it.
What's the flavour? Give us the notes of the...
I'd say that there are...
Cinnamon?
No, there's a sort of caramel note to it.
Can I give you some advice on whiskey? Right, everyone, some advice on whiskey. Ben Bracken... Isla single malt from Lidl, 18 quid.
Yeah, £18.49 to be precise.
Is in fact Bowmore Legend, price £32.50.
Yes.
It is the same whiskey.
A little bit of iced water as well.
No, iced!
Oh, you don't.
Iced water.
So by the way, so just to be clear, everyone, if you want a posh bottle of Bowmore Legend whiskey, which is 35 quid normally, it is sold in Lidl as Ben Bracken Isla single malt.
Okay,
wasn't she on the generation?
I bet Beaumont is so pleased that we've announced that on the radio.
Can I just point out, though, that in response to the original point is how can you halt the death of the British pub? It's very simple. Make it more affordable for people to go there.
Correct.
Make it more pleasurable.
Turn them into
for people to go there.
flats.
You know, if it's a case of
business rates are killing this country.
Absolutely. You know, stop taxing the bejesus out of the pubs. It's ridiculous.
But a working man in the old days could go down, have 10 pints and afford it. Now that would be 70 quid.
And I'd also point out as well, stop patronising people. If people want to drink, let them drink. I would say drink responsibly. Of course I would, because I have a moral duty to say it. Yeah. But at the same time, no, we have a moral obligation to
just drink heavily. You'll be all right. You'll be all right.
He does mean drink responsibly.
I did. I drank heavily for years until I got gout. You should follow my lead.
At the same time, I would also point out that if you say to people, look, it's on your own head, be it, then that's very different. But don't say to people like, sort of, OK, well, clearly you can't know your own mind, and therefore we're just going to keep taxing until the drinks are so expensive, because it's the businesses that suffer. It's disgusting.
Correct. Right, National Trust helpers forced out in Woke row. A dedicated group of volunteer gardeners who have helped maintain the National Trust estate for years say they have been forced out without warning by managers who claim their attitude and values did not align with the charity. They're probably woke, aren't they? That lot? They are, aren't they? Respectful and inclusive culture. There you go. The gardeners say they have had no satisfactory explanation for what they are meant to have done wrong. The decision appears to be the latest example of the Trust's pursuit of a progressive culture. A lot of people have cancelled their thing because now in exhibits they've got plaques saying, you know, Britain is terrible.
The National Trust needs to be reformed.
He's the hero, he's involved in slavery, all that sort of thing. Woke.
Well, there's an example.
Go woke, go broke.
Isn't there an example, I think I'm right in saying, of Wordsworth, where they've got a sign up saying that he benefited from slavery, and the reason he benefited, it might not be Wordsworth, but the reason he benefited from slavery was because his brother-in-law had worked for the British India Company as a captain, naval captain, not working in the field of slavery. However, because the British India Company had themselves at some point traded in slaves, that was the claim that Wordsworth was a slave master. And it's like, sorry, he's related to someone, he's related to someone.
But even if there is any remote truth to that, I guarantee there would have been a heck of a lot of people who benefited from slave trade, because the truth is, unfortunately, when that was an allowed thing, which I think most people would quite rightly think how abhorrent, the problem is that was how it was in those days.
Andre's still got a plantation.
I have, yeah.
From his family.
Yeah, no,
he comes from a family of slavers.
I'm not
should be boycotting.
No, I'm not joking. I'm proud of this. My dad owns a sugar plantation in Mauritius. I'm not joking.
Well,
but you don't have slaves anymore. Oh, you do have slaves? No, he doesn't.
Look, the point is...
That'll give them something to...
Probably got compensated as well.
That'll give them something to crap themselves about on the left.
The point is that it doesn't...
That disgusting slave owner, Andre Walker...
I'm going to rip down your statue I've got
who dragged out an innocent protester from a dinner in Windsor. That's the way they talk.
They need to go to the dentist by the sound of it. Look, the bottom line is that people would benefit from the slave trade of the time. It doesn't make it right, but it certainly doesn't make it right to start denigrating some of the great wordsmiths of the past just because they happen to have benefited from the attitudes of the time.
The problem is with the National Trust. The National Trust has been taken over as the Daily Telegraph state. Well, as it implies.
As all institutions.
They've been taken over, and now they are working. I mean, we work. This building lives next door to St Thomas's Hospital, and Thomas Guy. Guy's in Thomas's Hospital. So Thomas Guy, his own trust wanted to take it down. They no longer principally fund medical treatment as he intended them to. They now work on minority groups and poverty and trying to campaign against his legacy. It's his money.
Well, like Rhodes, wasn't it? The Rhodesian guy, they wanted to take his statue off the front of Oxford or wherever it was.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Well, yeah, because, of course, Rhodesia being a symbol of colonisation, of course, in Zimbabwe today.
And Zimbabwe being such a success since things changed. We can say one thing about Robert Mugabe. Whatever you say about him, he was a good leader of. Oh, he wasn't.
No,
he wasn't.
Starmer rewards terror, says Kemi Badenoch.
Well, that's exactly what he's doing.
I'd never say sorry for standing by Israel, says Tory leader as she renews net zero attack. Keir Starmer is giving Hamas A reward for terrorism by recognising a Palestinian state. Well, they were about to have a ceasefire, but then Starmer came and go, Israel have got to stop. He didn't mention anything about hostages. They go, Israel, if they calm things down and stop a bit, we might. If they don't, we're going to recognise a state of Palestine.
Whereas what he should have been doing was applying the pressure on Hamas.
Exactly, but he encouraged them to not ceasefire then.
Leave Gaza and allow people who identify as Palestinians to live in peace with Israel, because funnily enough, people who identify as Palestinian, and that is not Hamas, by the way, do actually want to live in peace. They want to go about their daily lives. They don't want to be in the middle of a war-torn zone. If he would have applied that pressure, as did all of Western leaders, say to Hamas, get out of the Gaza Strip, leave people who identify as Palestinian in peace and let them set up their own authority to govern themselves. I'm not talking about the PA either, but actually sort of a proper democratic government who would be able to set up and run the Strip accordingly as a country. Then and only then we recognise the state of Palestine.
OK, I just want to tell you one thing. We've had Mark Connell get in touch. He's on holiday in Grenada, and he says that he's just been for a lovely tour of a 250-year-old independent rum factory where he's bought a 75% rum, which was lovely. However, legally can't take it on the plane because it's a bomb if it's over 70%.
No, I think it's a Grenada tour. He's been at the Rover's Return. That's what it is.
If it's over 70%, it's technically a bomb and can't be brought on the plane. Do you know what Navy strength rum is?
That's a grenade, yeah.
Navy strength rum means that if the barrel gets damaged and it soaks the gunpowder, the gunpowder will still explode. Right.
Gracious.
Okay.
There you go. Every day is a school day.
Lammy warns of suicide risk on assisted dying.
What does he know?
23,000... Well, no, I don't think he's going to, but 23,000 young men signed off work for life.
Wow.
More than 200,000 230,000. More than 200,000 men are signed off for work for life. Official figures show. So you don't have to ever get an appointment again.
Never, ever go back.
It's basically universal income. A total of 230,000 men aged between 16 and 29 have no requirements to look for a job. The Department of Work and Pensions said most of these claims for physical and mental health problems. I mean, I think, it's easy to swing the lead now, isn't it? Oh, doctor, I'm depressed. I mean, I know there's some serious ones, or I've got a back. It used to be a bad back, now it's mental health, isn't it? And we can't afford to go on like this.
I don't even have words, honestly, because the truth is you can't have a country that campaigns quite rightly for treating people who do have mental health conditions with equality, and then you turn around and say, but actually you are allowed to use that as a potential excuse to never work in your life. I just don't see any sense in it, because
6.5 million of the working population are totally signed off.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely don't make any sense to me, because it just costs a fortune.
Can I mention something about that's on my YouTube channel, which has been on Sky News, which I think is worth talking about, simply because this Afghan resettlement scheme, are you aware that there is now an Afghan interpreter who says that hundreds of people on the scheme actually have faked that they are under threat from the Taliban. Yeah. They've made fake torture videos. They've made fake threat letters from the Taliban. They've gone on holiday back in Afghanistan. And what do we always say? What is the #1 holiday destination for people as soon as they get their indefinite leave to remain in Britain, having claimed asylum in the UK? Whichever country they fled is the correct answer. But also, cyber security got £1 billion taken out of its budget to pay for the Afghan resettlement scheme. This is a shambles, isn't it?
It's disgusting. I mean, there's no other word to describe it.
Some are bringing over 20 family members. A lot of them
how dare the government think that it's okay to compromise the national security in favour of people who are fleecing the system and taking us all for mugs and getting us to pay for that privilege? It's revolting.
And from a culture, a lot of them, obviously, the rape statistics 23 times more likely to commit sexual assault. You know, the culture's totally different. Women now have to wear what they call the cyclops. They're not even allowed to slit anymore in Afghanistan. You have to wear one eye. It's called a cyclops burqa. I mean, it's unbelievable.
And I'll tell you the other thing when we're talking about this, the Gazan children brought over for medical treatment in the UK, what was it, 12 of them? they've brought 100 dependents.
And they'll get asylum and they'll bring a load more with them. And these people have been radicalised by UNRWA. They've been taught that Jews, Christians are monkeys and pigs. And we're paying for that via UNRWA, and David Lammy repaying the finance to UNRWA.
I bet you the only kids that are allowed out to come for medical treatment in the West are the children of Hamas leaders. I bet you a tenner.
Well, they'd be put forward because, of course, as Hamas controls that region, they would have a say in who ultimately is the one who gets exchanged in the scheme.
And there was a
so what we've done is we've just opened the floodgates to Hamas sympathisers.
They did it in Denmark. They did a survey. They looked at 300 Gazans that they brought in about 30 years ago, and most of them had criminal records, some very serious crimes, and then their next generations as well carried on. It's not looking good. We've got a little break here at this juncture. Yeah, we'll take a break and reconvene. It's Talk Andre and Ash with Dave. 03444 499 1000 with your calls in the next hour. Back in a minute or two.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and this is the pay-per-view. I'm really enjoying it tonight. It's great to have Phil, Dave here, and Asher Gould. You know, it's a bit of a party in here, isn't it?
Fantastic. Can we get some nibbles, a bowl of nibbles or something?
Oh, yeah. Anyone got any, like, guacamole and some dipping, like, carrots or something?
Guacamole?
I don't know. What do you have at these parties? I don't know.
Mandelson, he called it... he thought mushy peas was guacamole, didn't he, when he went down the chippy?
Oh, dear. That's a bit unfortunate.
I love this guacamole stuff.
Apparently that's a lie, but it's superb.
It's good, though, isn't it?
I can have some of the guacamole.
With me chips, and curry sauce. Who are Daily Star? Let's start with their thought for the day. The thought for the day is join the fight. And, that's the main headline is give Ricky a statue. That's the story of the tragic death of Ricky Hatton, the amazing boxer. He was world champion on more than one weight. Today, your Daily Star backs campaigns for a statue of boxing legend Ricky Hatton in his home city. That's Manchester. Is it Manchester?
It's Stockport, isn't it? Isn't it from Stockport?
Well, we'll find out. And I know he's a massive Man City fan. And for men's mental health, Oasis Noel says he was one of us, part of the band, and what an amazing career he had. He was very down to earth. he just, you know, he was a real exciting fighter.
Didn't he have a lot of money stolen off him? He'd earned 100 million in his career.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, he was so popular. He took, I think, 40,000 fans to Vegas. Remember the British fans, the English fans, well, British fans. He took 40,000 to Vegas. He then lost to what's his name, Junior. You know, Floyd Mayweather Jr. I mean, he was outboxed. But what an incredible guy.
Boxing knowledge, I don't know.
And one of the best.
I'm starring in a film tomorrow about boxing.
Are you?
There's a new British film.
He's playing Gary Newbond.
Apparently.
Oh.
There's a new British film about Watson versus Eubank, and I'm filming it tomorrow.
A tragic fight. Very tragic.
Well, I'm not filming it. Like, they've been filming for weeks.
You're Chris Eubank.
I'm playing Frank Booner. I'm playing Chris Eubank.
I was going to say, you've got to get the laugh sorted.
I'm a boxer.
Let's watch him in, this isn't a film, this is a documentary about how Andre was a bouncer in his previous life. Run the VT, let's have a look at it.
Hey, just give me a minute. I'm knackered.
Oh, yeah. And free speech is what you believe.
I'm nearly 50.
You respond to free speech by trying to kick me in the balls.
How come he got... After you dragged him out, how come he was back there chatting to you with his sign? What happened there?
So what I did was, they were all going to muck about for ages, so I grabbed him by the arm, pulled him, and he blooming went down, sat on his bum. I had to drag him 30 feet. I almost need to be fed intravenously.
You pulled him off, didn't you?
Right. So I pulled him into the mayor's parlour. And then we just had an argument in the mayor's parlour because there was a side entrance to the Guildhall. And he accused me of trying to kick him in the balls. I didn't try and kick him in the balls. I'll tell you what. The point I was making was by the time.
How do you get yourself in these situations?
By the time I dragged him to the mayor's parlour, I almost had a heart attack. Right, let alone kick him in the balls. What a load of old rubbish. No, it wasn't adrenaline. It was exhaustion.
Yeah, well, after the big burst, because the look on your face is like concentration and anger.
It was.
Okay, you look properly fuming.
Well, it was his due, you know.
No, it wasn't that.
The room.
It wasn't that I was fuming. It was I dragged him half the way, and I didn't think I could continue. But I just had to dig deep.
You bit off more than you could chew.
You can't stop, can you?
Well,
I could stop halfway in the room and he's still there.
He's still there.
You had to keep going.
He's still there. Just give us a breather for 5 minutes. Oh.
So what would you do next time? Would you do it differently?
No. I genuinely.
Actually, we'll kick him.
No,
we don't condone violence.
I honestly think that people like that are terrorists. I think there's a veto of one. I've said this loads and loads and loads of times. There are people who say that if they don't like what's being said, it should not be allowed to be said. And I think those people, I think that's a branch of terrorism. I don't think it's blowing up buildings, but I think it's a branch of terrorism. So I would always, if you do that at an event that I go to in future, I'll just drag you out again. I might do it better.
I'd say there's sound reason behind that. The only thing you've got to be careful, unfortunately, is the law would be on their side because then they'd accuse you of GBH. You've got to be very careful.
No, not GBH, if you really hurt him.
No, but you've got to be careful with that because they would accuse you.
It's got to be a reasonable force.
I grabbed him. The good thing about this, they've made loads and loads of allegations, but actually the whole thing was filmed, apart from a minute in the mayor's parlour. The whole thing was filmed. And actually, no, it was literally, the whole thing was filmed. And it's very clear that all I did was dragged him across the floor.
You know, listen, the video shows that very clearly. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that sort of we've got to, in a sort of a duty of care to people who might be listening or watching, just note that if you were going to get physical with a protester, unfortunately, these cretinous individuals can try and use the law against you to say you've caused them some sort of harm. And unfortunately, then it can bounce back.
And it's always a great risk, isn't it? That the good people will get into trouble and the bad people will prevail.
Absolutely.
It's exactly the same.
That's the way of this land now, unfortunately.
It is.
And it takes 5 coppers to drag someone out, 1 on each leg and 1 for the head. So you should show them train the police.
Yeah,
that's much more efficient.
No, I'll tell you what, it took me some effort. Can I tell you one thing? I'm a big lad, but dragging him was no fun. It was no fun.
If it would have been a wooden floor, you'd have been all right. But it was.
Yeah, it's a carpet.
Yeah,
that obviously came about because of talking at the front page of the Star with Ricky Hatton. Can I just say that I'm really quite fed up of people making sort of what I describe as tokenistic noises when it comes to losing individuals to mental health struggles. You know, and I obviously don't know the details surrounding Ricky Hatton, but I think that there have been plenty of examples in the past where we have cited mental health difficulties when actually what's happened is someone has taken their own life. I don't know if this
Well, that is mental health issues, isn't it?
But the point is that they would sort of say, you know, oh, isn't it so tragic? Oh, we've got to be more aware. We've got to be so kind to people. We've got to... and nothing changes.
Yeah, I agree
nothing,
with that.
Right? I'm so sick of people saying, oh, it's so sad. Oh, it's so terrible. Yeah, it's very sad, but then we need to do something about it, because obviously if someone as strong a character as Ricky Hatton can end up that way, then what are we saying about those who clearly are not sort of necessarily strong characters in the first place who wind up in that way as well? Nothing's being done about it. It's all virtue signaling. It's all making noise just to pacify and to make the right noise.
It's the world we live in.
And it's just pathetic, right? This country is obviously a very bad place to live at the moment for a lot of people, and we need to wake up and realise that something needs to be done about it.
But with great sportsmen like that, they often, you know, it's all in their youth, and then it's all, what have you got after it? It's like you're never going to get that back. I mean...
But then therein lies part of the problem, is that if in the culture in this country says that someone is useless and they go on the scrap heap, and that's made them feel like that, then culturally speaking in this country we're disgusting.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's all a bit virtue signal of BS. And finally, the Daily Mirror. 1D, I think that's One Direction. Louis duped into £4 million fraudster's footy plot, and Louis Tomlinson was duped into backing a Doncaster Rovers buyout bid by 3.7 million pension fraudsters. The ID star unwittingly aided conmen such as Kevin Phelan by raising cash to buy the club. The scammers now face jail, but I'm sure he's got a lot more than £4 million.
There's something more important than this. Obviously, I'm very sorry for Louis Tomlinson, the fact that he's proven that he can fall for something as ridiculous as that, but let's not dwell on that too much. Do we want to just hold up the front page of the Mirror?
I will do that.
Right next to Mr. Walker. No, next to Mr. Walker. Because... Yeah. You go to the same hair.
Same hair.
So you're a 1D fan.
I do appreciate if you are listening to this, you can't see it, but please do go to the YouTube channel. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
My mate went round to visit Margaret Thatcher years ago, and she'd had a bit of a fall, and he said, what have you been doing when she was alive? And she goes, we've been watching the singing programme and the dancing programme too. And he goes, oh, what, Strictly Come Dancing and the X Factor? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, who are you going to vote for? She goes, oh, vote. And he goes, we have to phone vote at the end. She goes, we must vote. It's our duty to vote. Who are you voting for? We'll be voting for the young men. They're marvellous. Margaret Thatcher voted for One Direction in X Factor.
Right,
she was a directioner.
Do you notice about Margaret Thatcher before, you know, she did, I think, biochemistry or chemistry at Oxford, I think, and she worked for Wall's Ice Cream, and she was part of the team that invented the Mr. Whippy system.
That's right.
And this is why her hair was like a Mr. Whippy, as an homage to her invention of the Mr. Whippy.
I wouldn't mind, but her hair wasn't like a Mr. Whippy.
It was a bit, wasn't it?
If you'd have dyed it cream.
Should have more like candy floss.
A flake in it at 99. Anyway, Phil is going soon, so it's time for you to get your calls in 03444 499 1000. That's Phil Dave. He's been brilliant. We've got Tony, Bob, Kevin, Phil, Stephen, Delroy, Paula, Karen, Sean, Stephen, and we got some massive news about Zara Sultana. There's problems with her and Ronnie Corbyn at Trouble at Mill, so we're going to find out what's going on.
Jezbollah.
Jezbollah, the fruit and nut
Okay,
party.
if you want to get in touch, it's 0344 499 1000. We've talked about my YouTube channel. You can find it there at Andre Walker, at Virtual Ash.
At Phil Dave.
No, I'm completely off social media now. I don't even bother.
What?
Waste of space.
Oh,
no. Follow us on social media.
Just follow at talkTV instead.
At Andre JP Walker.
Thanks, Phil.
We'll be back just in a couple of moments. Thanks so much to Phil Dave. Back in a moment.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, let's read this statement from Zara Sultana from Jezbollah. She is the Member of Parliament for Coventry South. Am I reading it or should you?
You
I'll read it. Yeah. Over the last 24 hours, a number of false and defamatory statements have been published about me concerning the launch of your party's membership portal. The portal was properly launched in accordance with the party's roadmap. At no point was members' data misused or put at risk. All funds received from members were ring-fenced and protected in the appropriate manner. These baseless attacks on my character are politically motivated, and I intend to hold to account those responsible for making them. To that end, I have this evening instructed specialist defamation lawyers to avoid prejudicing or complicating any future legal proceedings. I will not make any further comments about this matter at this time. Well, it sounds like there has been an implosion within Jezbollah. I have to say to you, look, our concern was always that the party was not being properly run, wasn't it?
She was always trying to step ahead when she announced it in the first place. She doesn't want Corbyn. She knows what she's doing. And I think they realise and it's not going to work, is it?
Yeah, OK, let's go for Paula in Halifax. Paula, you're through to talk.
Good evening, guys.
Morning.
Good evening.
No, it's morning.
Hello.
Morning.
Well, I'm just ringing. I'd like.
Oh, no, it's a couple of hours back in Halifax, yeah.
It isn't, you do.
No, it's a couple of decades back, isn't it? Yeah.
Andre, I'd like to apologise to you for being rude at the evening of James's that night when there were just no chair.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
I'd like to apologise. I was out of order.
It's all right.
Do you accept it?
I do. What did you call to tell us?
No, we're ringing to. I wanted to talk to that bloody geek.
Charles.
Charles.
Yeah.
I remember James speaking to him, and he went, "Hey, are you mad? Are you mad?" He was going, James was going mad.
His styling was a little old-fashioned.
I like it. Charles Amos we're talking about, who was on in the first political commentator. He's got some very controversial views, but they seem to be. You know, he's worked them all out. He's an accountant, and basically pensioners have been having it large and taking £1.20 out the system for every pound. You've had it too. Good, Paula.
I'm not a bloody pensioner, you cheeky sods.
You spend 70% of your income on booze and fags. 17%. You've got to cut back on all that.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think that was a better look for him, actually, Asher. Yeah. I've got to be honest with you, that styling was very out of date.
I like it.
Look at that. Yeah. Sorry, I know this is...
I think it's minging.
You what? Sorry, Paula?
I think it's minging.
He looked dashing for somebody in 1975.
Well, if you like sex on legs, you like sex on legs.
Do you remember George and Mildred? He was a bit like George, wasn't he?
He looked like a darts player from Big...
George Roper.
Not Big Break, from Bullseye. Yeah. Let's get a bit of bully.
Jim Barron, yeah. I know what you're saying, yeah.
Impress your family, it's a set of pans.
You know, Jim Barron, he was quite a small man, but he was a PE teacher.
In 2, never have a dirty counter, it's a set of tea towels. In 3, never run out of fizzy pop, it's a soda stream. Yeah. Right, come on.
In 5, it's a teletext television.
No, I loved Bully's special prize, 24 Cuban cigars. Can you imagine?
And then you win a boat and a caravan for the big surprise. Anyway, sorry, Paula, what's up?
No, I was just interested in asking how you were doing regarding James.
All right, I mean, I still feel he's around, and he's obviously very much missed.
He's been very comforted by Andrew Eborn, who's been especially helpful at this difficult time.
You guys, I never thought you'd sort of gel together, but...
Who, me and Wale? Oh, me and Andre?
Oh, yeah, but
we've had our moments.
I've been genuine. I've watched it the last few weeks on the show, and I think you've both done really.
No, I'll tell you what we've done. I'll say this to all the viewers and listeners. we got thrown together because obviously James was ill, and the one thing we've never done is we got on with it, haven't we, and made it work. Yeah. And I think that's the important thing. Rather than going around saying, "Oh, this is difficult, that's difficult," we've got on with it and worked together, and you get out what you put in, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you guys have done amazing. I really do.
All right, well, thank you so much, Paula.
Did I say that?
Thank you.
Thanks,
well, you
Paula.
haven't said it to me at all so far.
Hertfordshire Bob.
How are you guys? I'm phoning up on a non-political item. It's to ask Andre. Andre, how'd you get out?
Can I tell you something? It has improved immeasurably. Can I tell you why it's improved immeasurably? Because actually what I've done is I've not bothered with any treatment. I'm drinking a lot less. I started off drinking absolutely zero, but now I drink really very little.
You get it from eating a lot of red meat and wine, and basically what happens is I think urea crystals leak out and go between the bones, and it obviously hurts these crystals in your bone. Your big toe is affected often.
The pain...
Henry VIII. If you live a lavish, rich food lifestyle, it's what happens.
The great thing about gout, and there isn't much great about it, is that if you stop the offending behaviour, it will go away. Right?
It's also a bit of a status symbol, isn't it, to say you've got gout?
What? So, Robert? What were you saying?
I'm an expert, right? I've suffered with gout for about 5 or 6 years now. Now, what you've got to do with gout is find the trigger points. Ash is right about red meat, but mine was the worst thing you can have is fizzy drinks. I'll tell you that now. Fizzy drinks.
Really?
Because the fructose? Is it the glucose?
Well, it's the glucose, anything with sugar in, but it is the uric acid. That's the problem.
The crystals, yeah. And so what were you... It was from fizzy drinks. Is it because there's sugar in them? What if you drank the diet drinks?
I don't know about that. All I know is when I used to go to the gym, I used to have a bottle of Lucozade on the way, and that used to crucify me.
It's a lot of sugar in that. A lot of sugar in it.
Well, I have a couple of cans of John Smith's a night now. I've had to give up the Guinness, but...
So you're saying the prescription is 2 cans of John Smith's to get rid of gout?
No, I'm saying that's what I can get away with. Anything more than that.
The other thing that I've noticed about gout is that ibuprofen is like kryptonite to gout. If an outbreak starts and you take loads of ibuprofen and put cold water on your feet, then you'll be all right.
But always consult your medical professional.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it persists, obviously.
Although I have got biology A level.
Andre, go to your doctor and ask him for allopurinol. You're going to have to take it daily for the rest of your life, but you can eat and drink more or less what you want.
No, actually, can I be honest with you? I don't want to do that. Can I tell you why? Because I think it's been a good idea to drink a lot less, and so I'd rather have to think about it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, because it affects other things a lot worse than gout. Alcohol can obviously kill your liver off and kill you.
So I mean, I would go home. I would go home from work in the past and buy a bottle of vodka at the petrol station and sit there drinking it on my own.
And during COVID, you would have a bottle of it on your cornflakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now, obviously, I won't do that, and that's just a better thing. So I think it's better not to be treated.
Well, you've got to find your trigger points. I mean, they do say...
Bottle of vodka would trigger it, I would suggest.
Well, yeah, but, shellfish is
not
things
kosher.
Like pate and very rich foods, that can trigger it. But you've got to keep your red meat down. I mean, I'm an expert.
And if you've got any calls about gout or want any gout advice, please give us a ring, 03444991000. That was Hertfordshire Bob. Heather in Girvan.
That was so nasty. No, just to be clear. Sorry, no, Heather, stop. Heather, stop. Please stop, Heather.
I stopped it.
Heather, stop. I did not fade Hertfordshire Bob out. I have no controllers here.
It's like the end of a record when it fades. It's just so. Heather, anyway, what do you want to say, Heather?
About the historical Donald Trump's visit. My favourite was the Red Arrows because I'd met the guys at the Air International Air Show on the 8th of September on Saturday, and I got the whole autographs, and I'll give them all a hug, and they are my favourites, the Red Arrows. So the Red Arrows,
I don't know any other
that
ones.
historical occasion, is my favourite because I saw the
Because
flight
you just
past
got to meet the Red
in
Arrows.
air, and it's absolutely
Bit of a tenuous reason.
spectacular.
But I mean, didn't you like the bit where Starmer and Trump were standing there and someone, I want a Palestinian, but not with Hamas, not with and Trump looked at him and went, well done, well done, my boy. You've grown up, man.
Lied to Trump yet again.
Yeah, he lied and lied.
Freedom of speech.
What did you think Trump didn't really have a go at him? Was that because it was a state visit? Do you think he's going to come back round, or what do you think that was about? Or you didn't really have
It was about, I don't know what the hell was all about, because it was shrouded in secrecy.
And there was a lot of business deals going on.
He was penciled down for, do you know, the state opening of, he was supposed to be speaking in the House of Commons, in the Houses of Parliament. To all
I thought they didn't want him to speak. I like the way he banned Sadiq Khan. He said, I didn't want him there, so he didn't come. And I hear he wanted to come.
I'm glad that Donald Trump
I'll be honest with you, he wouldn't have come because he's the Mayor of London. It was in Windsor. They would have invited the Mayor of Windsor.
Well, Keir Starmer didn't invite, Nigel Farage.
No.
And on that bombshell, let's go to Philippa in Poole, Dorset. Philippa?
Hi, Ash. Hi, Andre.
Hello.
Lovely to speak to you this morning. How are you guys?
We're doing all right. We're doing all right.
Good, good. Well, I'm feeling very depressed.
Why?
2 reasons. My first reason is my best friend went to Dubai yesterday on holiday and she's left me here on my own.
Oh
no, man.
So that's the first thing. Second thing, I'm really depressed that you're talking about, with your Charles Moss, you're talking about reductions in pensions, you're talking about reductions in benefits for the disabled.
Workhouses, bring back the workhouses, assisted suicide.
Doom and gloom. Where's the jollity on the show tonight?
Well, you looked at him for that.
I've got to say, Andre, you were amazing getting that protester out of that.
Thank you so much.
A couple of days ago, it was amazing footage. I did have a giggle watching that.
It wasn't the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. When a grown man lies on his bum and you have to drag him over a carpet.
You've done that quite a few times, haven't you?
For 30 foot. 30 foot was heave. Yeah. I almost died. Right. I mean, the footage at the end where.
I feel sorry for him because the carpet burns he must have had to endure.
I think what was amazing about it is, my understanding is that he's very upset. I invited him on the show yesterday, but his attitude is that he should have been allowed to continue to do it. But what he said is, if you drill, baby, drill, how many will you kill? But he said it over and over again. If he'd said it once...
He shouted it, wasn't he? If he'd just gone a speach, he might have said, all right, go on, do a speech.
No, before he stood up, there was a woman who made a speech about how much she hated Trump.
I mean, I didn't see it, but I saw her speak in a bit. And
there I am, dragging him out, yeah.
There he is, there's Andre Walker, pulling him by the radiator.
We did it quite quickly, actually, overall, didn't we?
Really? Yeah.
The trouble is, though, you would have had my best friend on the show yesterday, but she's in Dubai, so what can I say?
Why would we have had your best friend on yesterday?
Because you invited her, but she was going to Dubai.
Oh, is it the lady? Yeah, it was Georgina, was it?
Yes, that's my best friend.
We love Georgina. Yeah,
she's your best mate?
Yes, you've met both of us, Andre.
Oh, I have met both of you. I know exactly who you are now.
Well, who is? Go on, explain.
Yeah. You're both Reform members, aren't you?
Oh, you met up north, didn't you, at the...
We are.
The Ramsbottom general...
Ramsbottom.
Election, didn't
at
you?
At the Runcorn.
We were canvassing, we were canvassing for Sarah Poaching, and those 6 votes, I believe, she got because of...
everybody, the great thing about winning by 6 votes is that everybody who went out canvassing, in fact, won the election for you. Because if any of them had not done it, then they wouldn't have won.
And you'll be pleased to hear, Andre, that I have put in my application to be a Reform candidate.
And what's your plan? Your plan is to be a local councillor.
Well, I would do anything for reform. I will be a local councillor, I'll be an MP, I will be a consultant. I've already said to Zia that I will consult with him on disability policies, on heritage policies, on education policies, because as you know, I'm a historian and a qualified secondary school teacher, so, you know, I
Are you still teaching at school now?
At the moment, I do the odd bit of supply, and that's
what,
it.
drugs?
At the moment I'm writing.
Yeah, well, that's what they. But what's it like, the politics at school now? You hear them, you know, putting stuff in kids' minds. It's terrible. They shouldn't.
The thing is, we're actually taught we're not allowed to share our political views whatsoever.
You're not meant to, but they do.
That's what I was always taught, and you just try and keep that out of the class.
That should be the law, though. Never mind an advice thing. It should be the law. You shouldn't be doing that.
The trouble with teaching history is that obviously you have to talk about politics because you're talking about all sorts.
But you don't have to be biased. You can just explain the different political situations.
Some people say this, other people think that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did, and we try to do that. But then, of course, kids will always ask questions, and they'll always bring their own parents' biases into the class.
Yeah, but the teachers.
Yeah, that's right. That's do you know what? Do you know what Philippa just said there is absolutely right. Where they go, kids have got their own opinions. No, they haven't. What they've got is their parents' political opinions. There are plenty of teenagers who are just effing rabid, aren't they? Do you remember the UKIP kid? Do you remember the UKIP kid with Tristram Hunt when they went to Derbyshire and he goes, which way would you vote in the election? And the kid goes, UKIP. And he goes, why? Because I'd like to throw all the foreigners out the country.
But do you remember? I mean, I remember when William Hague, I remember as a child, I would have been about 10 and he was 14 at a Tory conference and he said to Margaret Thatcher, who's Prime Minister,
you'll all be dead.
You'll all be dead when I get in. And he was like this real Tory boy, and actually he was quite funny at the box, and he was an all right politician, but he just never. I mean, remember someone said he looked like Elmer Fudd, and that didn't really help, did it, in politics? Anyway, thanks, Philippa. We've got a little break at this juncture, but if you want to call us, join Karen, Tony, Sean, Stephen, Kev, Phil, Stephen, loads more, Delroy, 0344 499 1000. Just your calls now, me and Andre on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and we'll go straight back to phones. This is Andre and Asher. Cindy is in Pigeon, Michigan.
Hi, guys.
You're all right,
How
man?
are you?
We're all right, man. What, it's the afternoon where you are, isn't it?
Yeah, it's evening time, early evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I wanted to say, Andre, that footage of you removing the protester makes me so happy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It amused a fair number of people, it's fair to say.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it also shows what a badass you are. So.
Yeah, a lot of people said he put his money where his mouth is then when he did actually drag the bloke out.
Oh, yeah.
So what did you think about the state visit then?
Oh, I loved it. I saw the pageantry, as much as we were shown, on Talk. So yeah, I loved it.
It was just a great shame that it was all done in private. And do you know what? The people of Windsor would have loved to have gone, but unfortunately the protesters prevented that.
Yeah. And Sadiq Khan.
Unfortunately, but I thought what we were able to see, I loved it. Nobody does it better than the British.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what else is new?
Oh, just still reeling over the Charlie Kirk death, murder.
What's going on in the States about that? Because of course we saw what was his name was fired from the
Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, what's it feeling like? Yeah.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired. I don't know if he was fired.
Crap ratings. His ratings had dropped off a cliff. A lot of people. He was losing.
Right.
They were losing millions. So that might be on top. If he was making money, they probably wouldn't have fired him.
Nobody watches late night anymore unless you're a complete lefty.
Well, it's changed, hasn't it? But not just because of that, but because people are really mainstream media. People don't watch that. They watch online. They watch us.
Well,
I mean, we're mainstream, but we're one of the few, very little, that actually tell the truth.
Well, hang on a second. Do me a favour, Cindy. Why don't you explain what the Jimmy Kimmel thing is and why people don't watch it anymore? Because a lot of people will be vaguely... I'll tell you the thing that I used to watch, which was I told my kids I ate their Halloween candy. I thought it was quite a funny thing. But what was that phenomenon of late night TV, and why is it so unpopular now?
Well, he was a late-night TV host.
But it basically comes from Johnny Carson and David Letterman, the traditional American TV host at night, appointment to view, and it's changed, hasn't it, Cindy? That's basically...
It's completely changed because of what the monologue is. Instead of complete comedy, it's not funny anymore. What you hear is preaching, a sermon of their political views, and it's always one-sided. It's not somebody who's can look at something objectively. It's completely one-sided.
Well, Carson and Letterman and all the greats, they were apolitical.
They were, yes, indeed, and that's why
and the left aren't funny. I mean, if it would have been right-wing politics, then it would have been actually funny. But it was the lefties, and we all know they're not funny.
But we've seen so many times on some comedy shows in Britain, Brexiteers are racist. Ha ha ha!
Yeah, exactly, clapping.
Right,
It's ruined comedy.
Like, that's really a well-written joke right there.
But overall, what's going on in comedy in America? Is it changed? Because here it's terrible, because you can't be...
It's changing. It is changing because of free speech, you get canceled. You get canceled. And so now there's a lot of comedians that are coming out now that are more centrally based. Like you have a show on the internet called Kill Tony, and it is so funny. And they make fun of everybody.
So it's coming back round again.
It's coming back around. Comedy is not completely dead.
But I do think that sort of show with the main guy, I think that's finished. Do you not think?
Oh, I think it's finished. I think it's done.
Yeah.
And it was about time. His ratings were down, and look at Colbert.
Exactly. The whole genre and it's been really ruined by the left in a way, but also mainstream telly and media is on the way out.
Yeah, and right now YouTube is where it's at. A lot of people are coming to podcasts. They're watching Talk.
Yeah.
That's where it is.
Well, look at what's his name, the guy who interviewed Trump. What's his name? Joe Rogan. I mean, that's the biggest podcast in the world. It's much bigger than any TV show now.
Yes, Joe Rogan was essential in getting Trump in, I think he played a really key role.
And of course, Twitter did as well. Twitter with Elon. That also, social media is much more important than the mass media and the old school media, who still think they're in this bubble. They still think they have all the power, but it's disappearing like sand.
And I'll tell you, people are hungry for the truth.
Yes,
people are not stupid, and they understand, when material is biased.
Do you know something, Cindy? People are not stupid is one of the things that is just one of the most important principles of this channel, because we are so sick of people saying, oh, these idiots, we have to tell them this, we have to tell them that. We think that people are busy, not stupid. Therefore, they don't have a huge amount of time to study the books and to understand this and understand that. But it's not because they're idiots. They don't have to be treated like idiots. People can have genuine information and can make their own decisions.
And I love this channel so much. They give the fair, and they do give a balanced view. You have people on from the left, you have people on from the right, and they get to speak their views.
And ultimately, it's the truth that we look for on this channel, which other channels don't. And we do very well at these times like this, with Mandelson and Ray and all the people go, well, we don't want to go into the other media. They want to hear the truth and what's going on, and this is where it's happening.
I wish in the States we had more news like yours, because I would love to see on a daily basis, like Mike Graham, he gives, he'll let you know.
Oh, we've got...
What's ridiculous.
You want to see Mike Graham on a daily basis? Well, you can, on breakfast. Anyway, Cindy, your call went a bit funny. Let's go to Bob in Oxfordshire. Bob.
Come on, Bob.
Robert.
Come on, Bob.
Morning, Robert. Robert. Come
on, Bob.
Bob.
I'll tell you what, why don't we go to a break and then we
Robert, hold on.
Oh,
he's here. All right, give us a little taster. We're going to go to a break, but what are you going to come back and talk about?
I'm going to be on TV, man. I'm going to be famous.
Are you on hand-free? Can you use your hands, please, Robert? You're on hands-free. We want to use those hands.
Yeah. I've got you on now. I took it off now. Yeah, hello.
All right, so you're on telly, Robert?
Oh, hi, guys. I love you guys. You're fucking fantastic.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
You're live on talkTV. Do not swear.
Yeah, sorry about that, folks. Yeah, I didn't mean that. But yeah,
are you
guys
drunk?
Are brilliant. But my main point is like, okay, we've got these illegal immigrants coming over.
Yes.
And we don't want them in our streets. We don't want them in these HMOs, houses.
Yeah.
Keep them in
Where
the
do you
hotels.
want them?
I want them to keep in the hotels, yeah? But
you want them in the hotels?
Yeah, I want to keep them in the hotels, but why are they allowed to walk around?
Why do you want them in hotels? It's costing us billions a year.
Yeah, of course it does, guys. Yeah, obviously there is an issue, but why is it that if anybody's like trying to record in the fence, they got fences up, haven't they?
They got a lot of fancy stuff, yeah.
Yeah, like up in a hotel, they've got the fences all around it, like.
Oh, fences.
Yeah, fences.
Yeah. So my point is, my main point is, okay, they're here. We've got to deal with them, innit?
Well, we have a detention centre. We're no need for hotels. We never used to put them in hotels.
I know, guys. I know what you're saying, and I don't.
So you're saying that the hotels really should be the limit of where they're allowed to go. So you can stay in the hotel, you can stay in the hotel gardens.
Yeah, but my main issue is okay, they're in the hotels, but why are they allowed to roam the streets?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if you work with kids, you have to have a whatever check, and
ABS.
And these guys, we don't know who they are. They can just roam around schools, take photos, and everything. It's outrageous.
Yeah, I live in Crichton. There's a hotel, Ibis Hotel, and if you know anything about that, there's been a few issues regarding immigrants with the hotel from the But
nearly every hotel that has had that.
Yeah, guys, we've got to be careful what we say here. But
well, not that careful.
My argument is, okay, they're in the hotels. Do not let them out the hotels.
Yeah, we're going round in circles now.
They can wander in the grounds, the car.
They should be given exercises to do with it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Robert. We've got to go to a break now.
A lot of sense there from
We'll
Bob.
be back in a moment.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and we've got Ben Fletcher coming up in a couple of minutes. We're going to try and drag him in the studio because we like Ben. Actually, to be fair, we really like Martin Kellner as well. The only reason Martin's left...
Yeah, get Martin back.
There's no conspiracy.
No.
The only reason Martin left was because he couldn't come into the studio. Whereas in fact,
ageism.
No, it's got nothing to do with that.
Typical.
It's
Typical.
got nothing to do
No, I'm joking.
No, the only reason
wouldn't have us here, would they, if it was that?
The only reason that Martin's left in favour of Ben is because Ben's in the studio and Martin couldn't come over.
Better rates.
And I think they want to do a lot more filming, don't they, overnight?
What, you're saying he's not filming? You know,
he's not in the studio.
No, but Ben will be doing the show after. It's Talk Sport, Talk TV, simulcast at 10:02 with Marky. Let's go to Dick in Leeds. Richard in Leeds.
Hey guys, I've not watched for a while, so I originally phoned because I've turned it on and I just wanted to say, Ash, you're looking kind of dapper there, mate. Look, I just walked off a movie set. Anyway, I've been on hold for a while, so I've been listening to what you've been talking about. Yeah. Migrants in hotels, I think it's ridiculous. They should be in camps and they should be on an island somewhere.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, France. France are in the ECHR, but they don't have to put them in hotels. Just leave them.
Well, look. There's a lot.
A wigwam.
The only problem. So, Richard, can I say to you, the only problem with putting migrants on islands is this. Yep. The British Isles is hundreds of islands.
Thousands, actually. Thousands.
But they're principally Scotland, right? So if what you were able to do was say, OK, people are not going to stop at Dover, they're going to stop at an island off the coast of Kent. Where is there? There's only Sheppey, isn't there? I don't think there is.
Surely England, we've got islands, we've got quite a few islands.
We've got 6,000 islands and islets around this country. 6,000 to choose from.
They're not in the right place.
No. What about Lindisfarne? What about Lindisfarne?
Of England, a nice little one. We've got islands all over the world. We could find a nice one where we don't have to worry about them.
The Chagos, we could have put them on there.
Exactly. Chagos, we should have put them there. Yeah. We could put them anywhere, but we shouldn't be putting them in hotels. And the whole fact that we're putting them in hotels and they can leave and walk around, this whole thing with the schools that's going on at the moment.
I mean, Glastonbury has about 150, 200,000 people. That's enough, isn't it?
We managed to fence them and keep them in and keep everyone else out, don't we? No, it's just ridiculous.
Right. It's just, anything else, Richard?
This whole one in, one out thing. I've got the one thing that really bugs me with it. They're saying it's one in, one out. So, like, a thousand's come in today.
Yeah.
And they've got rid of one.
Yeah.
Right? They've got rid of that one. Just bring one back.
And that one back will be able to bring all his family members as well, don't forget.
So we've still got 1,000. So it's a nonsense. It's just.
And the one in can bring 10, 20 people as well once he gets it, because he's already been vetted, so he's definitely staying here. He can just bring his family with.
Exactly. And if I'm on and you let me talk, what is all this with Mandelson? Well, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, he'd been 3 times. He'd already been sacked twice, been brought back. I think he's very good mates with Tony Blair. Tony Blair got him installed. They'd been warned, and Starmer says, oh, no, he's fine. Then says, oh, I've seen some information today, and we've got to get rid of him. He already knew he'd been hanging around with a guy convicted of having sexual relations with a 14-year-old. What more do you need to know?
It says the new information when asked, and he says, well, the new information is that he doesn't think that Mandelson was he was wrongly convicted of the first thing, and so that we're wrong with that. So what if he'd agreed that he was convicted and he should have been convicted? Would that make it all right?
Well, I've got to be honest with you.
You know what I mean? Would he have kept his job if that was it?
Hang on a second. Here's the thing that I think about this. So, I think if your friend is convicted of a crime, they have a legitimate right to appeal. Here's what I would do if it was me. Right. Yeah. If one of my friends was convicted of a crime that was incompatible with my job here, I'd send them a message saying, I'm very sorry you've been convicted. I hope you'll appeal, but I cannot spend any time with you until that appeal is successful. Boom. Yeah. That's what you do, don't you?
Yeah.
Right, but equally, Richard, you've got to also say, I'm sorry, whilst you're in court and being investigated, we can't be seen together either.
No, I understand what you're saying, but Starmer's excuse that because he didn't agree with the conviction, that's the reason we've had to fine him. Well, so if he did agree with the conviction, you're basically saying he'd still have the job. So it makes no odds.
Well, no. Can I tell you, Richard?
Not the question, is it? The question is, what changed your mind?
No, Richard.
What he said is what changed his mind. Is that he didn't agree with his original.
Okay, Richard.
So if he did agree with it, would he still have the job?
Got it. But Asher Gould has made this point on multiple occasions, not in relation to Mandelson.
I've not watched recently.
All right. No, hang on. The point that Asher has made consistently is this: that Keir Starmer's line is always, "I didn't personally look at that document." Right, that's
called plausible deniability. He's a lawyer,
and he just. That's the whole point of being a lawyer. You look at the frigging, you look at the evidence. So you can't say that.
Yeah.
Well, but he said he made that point about Savile when he said, "I didn't personally look at that file."
Well, he's either incompetent or lying. You know what I mean? Either way, he's useless.
The job he's got is that as he was the top lawyer. His whole job is that he can't use excuses.
So let's. Okay, got it. So the whole point about Savile, and I hold Keir Starmer responsible for the fact that Jimmy Savile was not prosecuted. And I'll tell you why I hold him responsible. Because he was the Director of Public Prosecutions and it was his responsibility. Right? Simple as that. I didn't look at that particular file is garbage.
That's negligence then. Either negligence or bullshit.
The purpose of the Crown Prosecution Service was to ensure that people were prosecuted equally and consistently across the country, whatever their background. Specifically, somebody who was an IRA guy would get the same treatment as somebody who was a celebrity. The whole job of the Crown Prosecution Service was to ensure that Savile was not put in a privileged position, and it spectacularly failed to do that. And when Keir Starmer says it's unfair to blame me, you were the man responsible. Done. Boom.
I'll give you that.
Thanks, Richard. Let's go to Cyrus in London. Cyrus.
Hi. Hello, how are you doing, guys?
Morning.
You right? Good?
Yeah, we're all right, man.
Good. It's not too bad. I woke up this morning, so it's a good start.
Woke up this morning.
What I was going to quickly say was immigrants coming to country. How about they work on the farms, which are in dire straits? Because I still can't get my head around the fact that we import goods that we grow in this country, logistics and everything, and pollution, etc. Why don't we get the immigrants working on the farms in this country
and the unemployed as well? Other people.
Well, there are seasonal work visas. It was incredibly popular for young people who were at university and college abroad to come over for the summer holidays, fruit picking and vegetable picking. The problem you've got now is, if we were to say, OK, we're bringing in fruit pickers from Pakistan or whatever, they would all now claim political asylum.
No, not bringing in. If they were coming in anyway and they came here, instead of claiming benefits, get them to work on the farm, switch to the farm.
But this is what Charles Amos was saying earlier, that what we have to do is say to people, no benefits, you have to work.
Well, of course, work on the farms, at least they get paid. They pay for the dinner.
The other thing is, with fruit pickers, it's not that easy. Apparently, the best ones were the Eastern Europeans because it's very hard work. And they said British people that can, because they said, why don't you get British people? They said they just can't do it to the standard.
Well,
that a Polish person or someone from the Eastern Europe, they're hard workers.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if the immigrant people are coming in and they're getting all these benefits, when it should be going charity shops at home, at least they work for their dinner.
No, you're right, and the unemployed. Thanks, Cyrus. We've got a little break at this juncture.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's have a break.
A couple of minutes, we'll be back.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and this is Andre Walker and Asher Gould, and I suppose we'll just go straight to Kevin in Basingstoke. Kevin, you're on Talk.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Yeah, you had a guy on earlier. I think you said his name was George Mildred.
Yeah, Charles Amos. He's like George Roper from George and Mildred. Yeah, he did look like him. What about him then, Kevin?
What he was saying about pensioners, I thought that was really harsh.
Harsh but fair, because he made the point that, you know, they're taking out a lot more than they put into the system. They spend 17% on fags and booze.
But our pension age is one of the high... The age we have to be to claim our pension is the highest in Europe, and our pensions are the lowest in Europe.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but okay, so Kevin, instinctively I agree with you. However, the facts are the facts. For every £1 on average a pensioner puts into the system during their life, they claim in their old age £1.20. Now, by the way, there's one thing that Charles Amos didn't tell you, that figure, I think, includes healthcare.
Yeah, I think the whole thing, yeah.
Because as you know, the vast majority of your entire life's healthcare spend will be spent in the last 18 months of your life.
That's why the assisted dying thing is so worrying, and they'll eventually just put it in, oh, he's old, they'll just knock him. They already sort of do that, and that's the worry about this assisted dying bill.
Well, yeah, the thing is, pensioners do take a lot out. I think, I think it costs 100 billion for their state pension. And,
well, that's the figure he quoted, yeah.
We spend more than that a year on interest on our debt.
I think 2/3 of the NHS budget goes on people over 65, and then the money, if they can't pay their rent, they get subsidised rent, which is another.
What worries me is this, Kevin. It's exactly what Margaret Thatcher said in the 80s. So Margaret Thatcher was not a Thatcherite in the conventional sense of people thinking of it. What she was somebody who believed that she was a practical person, and all she said was, yes, but we can't afford any of this stuff. You know, what should we do about keeping the mines open? We can't afford it. Why we shouldn't privatise the industries? We have to. We can't afford it. And Charles Amos's simple point is, this country is going bankrupt.
Yeah.
Now, Steve Bannon says the country's bankrupt already. Have you looked at this thing in the bond market? The bonds that we bought from ourselves, the Bank of England bought bonds from the British government for £101 per bond. They're selling them for 28 quid.
It's a lot worse than it was in 76. And the trouble is, you've got these ideologues who just will not back down, and they'll just keep throwing money until the system literally can't handle it or break. I mean, they go on about saving 5.5 billion. What a great thing is. We spend that over a month of that just paid. We borrow 70% of the money we borrow is just to pay off the interest on our previous debts.
But the thing is, don't you think you can judge a country on how they treat their old and vulnerable? I mean,
true, and working class girls. I mean, look, hundreds of thousands of them.
Well, they are vulnerable.
I mean, they're vulnerable girls, and they've just been in the name of diversity. We've got it's disgusting.
Yeah, but you should look after our frail old
people,
like our parents and grandparents. I mean,
that's their primary job, is to look after the people, the government.
Yeah, I think it was really harsh. I think he probably was a wealthy man, and his parents or grandparents don't need looking after.
I didn't get that impression. I think it was much more that what he was saying was we wouldn't need to look after the elderly in the way we're looking after them if the whole system wasn't as broken as it is.
Yeah,
I think that's his central point.
Well, I mean, it is broken. I mean, the thing is.
Well, can I tell you the Andre Walker and Asher Gould argument against him? Because we've had it with Reem Ibrahim, which is this: we all know what's going to happen. If we abolish the state pension tomorrow, public spending would not go down. It'd just be spent on more garbage. So what would happen is our people once again would get nothing, but there'd be no reduction. Yeah. So what we're saying is, let's reduce the amount of money spent on migrants first. Let's reduce the amount of money wasted on interest payments. Let's get rid of all these social workers.
Out of work benefits for people who are swinging the lead.
Let's get rid of that first, and then when that works, then we can have an argument about pensioners.
Well, the thing you say about migrants, George said that we spend 15 billion supporting migrants every year, but we don't. It's 5 billion.
Well, hold on. That is just on people on the boats. That's a very small drop in the ocean. We're taking 1 million legal migrants ridiculously, and they will end up costing us a lot more than the ones who are coming in illegally, who should also be got rid of. But it sort of takes you off the ball of the Boris wave, which is now continuing, of about 1 million net a year. And don't forget, it's about 1.5 million gross, and they're not from this
Also,
culture.
remember, 1.7 million people are about to be given indefinite leave to remain.
Yeah.
Each of them will be able to bring their families over to the UK, and we know that the Afghan that brought the most people was 25. We should expect...
And never work again, by the way. We pay for everything, their whole lives.
I believe in the next 5 to 10 years we should expect another 8 to 10 million migrants.
Obviously, we're going to go bust.
Which means we'll go bust.
The thing is, we've got an ageing population, haven't we? I think there's like 30 million... 30 million old-age pensioners.
Is there? No, that's nearly half the population. Can't be that much.
No, whatever it is.
Yeah,
we've got an ageing population.
A lot. Too many of them.
We've got an ageing population anyway, and it's a declining birth rate. When the welfare state was first brought in, there was 5 people working for every pensioner. 5 people of working age for every pensioner. Now there is 3 people.
But we don't need people anymore. We've got robots coming. In the next 10 years, there'll be robots doing a lot, probably most of the jobs, including the manual ones.
Yeah, and actually, to be fair, the mechanisation of things as such. So, as an example, my dad obviously is nearly 80. He could project manage a construction site now because it's principally sitting on a computer, and obviously you have to go down to the site and supervise people, but it's not the strenuous job it was. So somebody in their 70s could do that, and my dad has done that. I think really here is the problem that I worry about. I worry the reason that people are not having children is because the cost of immigration to the country means that they simply can't afford it. So it becomes so if you like, the great replacement theory, which people complain about, people talking about, is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because there's so much immigration, people don't have kids, so they demand more immigration.
A lot of women are encouraged to go and work and have a career, and then it's often too late. You've only got a 50-50 chance of giving birth if you haven't done it by 28. And, a lot of people are encouraged to go into work and then realise, well, what have I done? There's all kinds of things. People are scared of what's going on in the future. They can't afford a house, but
but that's not down to immigration, is it? You can't afford a house. It's big. I mean, one might.
Hang on a second. Well, let's talk about the housing policy. Angela Rayner's housing policy. Look, 40% housing target. That means for you to buy a house, you have to buy 2. One for yourself and one for somebody else. Now, where I live, the families in most need are recent migrants. And so what happens is I buy a house, and then the second house that I buy goes to somebody who arrived from Pakistan 18 months ago, stepping over the people of my actual village who need it.
Why are we not building enough houses? I mean...
Well, how many houses do you want to build? At $1 million net a year.
We need to build a city of Birmingham every year, which, obviously isn't going to happen. I mean, he lives in Windsor, where there's the migrants, the royal family of migrants, let's not forget. Illegal immigrants, actually, mainly German and Scottish. Talking of which, it's time for Ben Fletcher to do his little handover with us, because you're doing TalkSport and talkTV in the next few hours. What are you going to be doing, man?
I'm just really, really impressed that you knew I've got German and Scottish heritage.
Yeah, I know.
My dad's Scottish, my grandmother was German.
Really? I always research the hairy tress and the lederhosen. He wears lederhosen.
It probably explains why there's so much conflict in me. 3 nations that absolutely detest each other.
He's hitting himself.
I want to tell you that I'm starring in a film tomorrow. Have I told you?
Oh, no, you haven't. Go on.
Yeah. So there's a film called The Force, which is about Eubank versus Watson, and I'm playing. Is his name Gary Newbon?
Well, he's playing the interviewer at the end of the fight, and that was Gary Newbon, wasn't it? It would have been then. So you're Gary Newbon. It's quite a bit of a likeness.
So I was really looking forward to it. Then apparently my line is something like, the filming tomorrow is the Nigel Benn fight. Nigel, were you pleased with your performance? And that is my whole bit.
Of course, Nigel Benn had this tragedy with McClellan, and very similar careers that they had, Ben and Eubank, and it's horrendous what happened to McClellan and what happened to Watson. I mean, they're both still alive, but in a bad way, aren't they?
Yeah, very much so. You talk about cameos, though, in films, and obviously I can't wait to see how yours is received.
Have you been in one?
I've not been any... none. I was in a film once as an extra at Woking Football Club.
Oh, really?
They were filming something, and I had to tap somebody in front and tell them to sit down.
But that's not an extra, because you had a line.
Yeah, you had a line.
Well, yeah. Well,
Yes,
it was inaudible. But the best cameo of all time was one of the Toy Story films.
Yeah.
And Andy Peters plays a baggage handler, and he shouts something out. So it's the middle of New York to set the scene, and all the toys are in their boxes. Or sorry, hashtag spoiler alert if you've not seen it. And Andy Peters, in his very English accent, says something like, "That's we finished loading," or something. Completely out of character. But I think it was a bit they did for Live and Kicking. If you're a bit old enough vintage to remember what that is.
My mum said that she went to a film years ago, and it was about the life of Jesus. I forget which one it was. And at the end of it, they had an American actor who goes, "He truly was the Son of God." And it just sounded so ridiculous. Everyone just laughed all
By
the
the
way.
way, in the gallery they're saying you look like a young Sid James. Can you
Yeah.
What have you got coming up in your show, man?
Loads coming
up.
up.
With Marky as well.
Yeah,
so
loads coming up. Marky Talk, Stuart Armour on the decks as well. We're looking ahead to the Merseyside Derby, live on Talk Sport. We're taking a trip.
Merseyside are playing Derby. No, it's the Merseyside, Everton-Liverpool, isn't it?
That's right.
Can I ask you a bit of sporting question?
Originally, the Everton ground Anfield wasn't it?
Is the reason it's called the Derby because the Earl of Derby is a Scouser and sponsored it?
No, they're all called derbies.
All
like Birmingham Villa.
But like Lord Stanley is the Earl of Derby.
Yeah, why are they called derbies?
I think it's related.
Very good question. I don't know the answer to that.
I believe the first one was Liverpool versus Everton, sponsored by the Earl of Derby, who is from Liverpool.
But it's the other side of Stanley Park, isn't it? But some derbies are ridiculous, like Brighton and Palace, the M23 derby.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't like it when you call it that.
Yeah. What's the Derby? Is it
Derby?
Is it Derby?
Derby County versus.
Is there an Abu Dhabi versus Derby City or Derby County or whatever?
Derby County, yeah.
That would be the Abu Dhabi Derby.
They used to play the baseball ground, Derby County.
They did back in the day, yeah.
Yeah,
when they
I went
on their
there.
kits.
I remember I was going
from that neck of the
in
woods,
the
aren't
80s. Yeah, not far. Apparently, it comes from the Derby horse race. But what's that got to do with? Like them to...
Yeah, that's right. But
we'll
I think
find out.
So the Earl of Derby was into his horse racing as well. I believe it's related to the Earl of Derby.
Yeah, but
I know that because I went to school in West Derby in Liverpool.
What's the explanation? But anyway, what else you got? You got any?
All sorts. We're going to Lanzarote, the Canary Islands. The show has adopted Lanzarote FC for the year. Bit of summer sunshine. Well, it was lovely today, by the way, wasn't it? I don't know if it was where you were.
I got up a bit late. But what good? You've already got good guests. You've always got good guests on the show. Who you got coming up?
All sorts of good guests coming up. You've put me on the spot a little bit.
We've grilled him here, haven't we? I'll tell you what. Get his running order. Get his running order.
Get the running order.
Now, I want to ask you a more important question.
As well, Alfie Reynolds.
I want to ask you a more
Women's
important.
rugby is actually quite good as opposed to the football.
Well, we know that England are playing Canada in the final now. If they get past France today, so we're looking ahead to that. We'll have racing tips with Tony Mack. Stuart Weir's doing the back pages.
I want to ask you this question.
Go on.
Are you enjoying it?
I love it.
You know what? You've spent so many years being the fill-in guy.
It's like being reserve goalkeeper.
Yeah, that's right.
And then one day the goalkeeper needed to be sort of replaced on a more long-term basis, and you think, well, here I am, got my gloves on.
I remember.
You're like the Jimmy Rimmer. Because he was kept out, of course, by Shilton. No, it's not rude. His name was Jimmy Rimmer. Jimmy Rimmer. He was kept out, of course, because we had Ray Clement and...
Ray Clements himself was kept out by Peter Shilton, wasn't he? For many years.
Shilton was brilliant, wasn't he?
Well, so was the other one that we talked about. That I just meant.
I love the way we're
Seaman, he was great
David
as well.
Seaman.
Apart from when Naeem lobbed Seaman from the halfway line.
And then he got lobbed by Ronaldinho at the O2 World Cup, didn't he? And then he got lobbed by the bloke out of Kasabian.
And then it would just go.
So everyone,
really pathetic.
Right? Everyone at talkSPORT has a sport that they come to as their number one thing.
Yeah.
What is your favourite sport? What got you into all this?
Oh, football.
Is it football?
Yeah, 100%.
It's mainly football. talkSPORT.
Yeah.
I mean,
And who do you support? Forgive me.
Woking.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
That's always the reaction. I was born half a mile from the ground.
Well, that's good. No, that is good. You know, it's not a glory hunter.
But it's a great town. You've got Paul Weller. You know, if you're into that sort of thing, the Jam.
What about the fact that when this is genuinely true? When
Paul Weller, who does he play for?
when Man United play at home, they put on extra trains from London for the home fans.
Yeah, exactly.
But
isn't that hilarious?
It's absolutely true that if a Man United calls into talkSPORT, a Man United fan calls into talkSPORT, they've usually got an accent not too dissimilar from mine.
Yeah, that's right. They're all from the home
And it's the opposite. Man City, they've done really well, and yet no one